Hey guys, tonight we're slipping into silk slippers and tiptoeing through ink-stained secrets. Ready? Picture this. You step into a candlelit Aragonese salon wax pooling under forgotten love letters. Your shadow flickers across walls papered with courtly intrigue. That breeze, not just wind, the restless sighs of nobles who died waiting for replies. Let's be real, you'd last 3 minutes here before accidentally burning a duchess's treasonous grocery list. So, before you get comfortable, take a moment to like the video and subscribe. But only if you genuinely enjoy what I do here. Drop a comment with your location and local time. Let's map our insomnia across time zones. Now, dim the lights. Maybe turn on a fan for that soft background hum. And let's ease into tonight's journey together. Candle flame licks gilt-framed portraits as you trail a finger over oak desks, splinters catching on threadbare velvet. History fact incoming. Spanish courtiers used crushed beetle wings for shimmering ink, glamorous, till you sneeze medieval glitter. A dried quill pricks your palm, still sharp from its last unsent confession. That rustling, not just parchment, the stiff brocade of a noble's gown brushing against a half-written plea for clemency. Pro tip, never trust a 15th century letter sealed with honey. Turns out sticky fingers weren't just a metaphor. You lean closer to a wine-stained draft, ink curlicues, spelling out me alma before dissolving into blots. Quirky tidbit alert. Scribes sometimes mixed ink with pigeon blood for romantic crimson hues. Turns out entomology wasn't their strong suit. Your sleeve knocks over a sand shaker, grains hissing across a map of Naples like tiny invaders. Forbidden geography lesson. Aragonese queens coded troop movements into embroidery patterns, cross-stitch warfare. A shutter bangs open moonlight fractures through stained glass, drenching the room in sapphire and accusation. You freeze as a shadow crosses the threshold. No, just your breath fogging a mirror polished with paranoia. Historians still argue whether those perfumed letters were love notes or spycraft. Personally, I'd vote both with a side of denial. A dropped wax seal crunches. Underfoot, you pocket the broken pieces. Squint at the fleur-de-lis pattern. Royal couriers used these to mark urgent messages, medieval VIP stamps. Your knee bumps a hidden drawer. It creaks open to reveal a miniature portrait. But the face, scratched out by a frantic ring. Bonus nightmare fuel. They used cat hair glue for delicate artwork. Allergies didn't exist back then, apparently. Wind snakes through the room, parchments levitate like ghostly admissions. One slaps your cheek in your defense. Renaissance paper cuts were a credible threat. The scriptorium clock chimes thrice, except it's been broken since the blacksmith eloped with the alchemist's daughter. You trace a charcoal margin note. Beware the falconer's third glove. Classic. Nothing says courtly romance like avian-themed espionage. A key rattles in the corridor, too late. You're already elbow-deep in a chest of crumbling ledgers. Fun fact, Accountants added dried lavender to ledger ink because nothing soothes tax fraud anxiety like aromatherapy. Your nail catches on a hidden compartment. Inside, a single pearl rolls into the shadows. Guess Prince Juan's apology necklace never reached its recipient. Awkward. Moonlight shifts. Suddenly, those innocent book stacks look like barricades. You press an ear to the floorboards. Was that a cough? A stifled laugh? Too rhythmic, just a mouse gnawing sonnets into nesting material. The real horror, rodent literary critiques. Your heel grinds something into the tiles, a shattered spectacles lens. Maybe the court astrologer's failed attempt to read his own star charts. You glance up, chandelier chains dangle like nooses for chandeliers with commitment issues. A draft spins dust, motes into fleeting constellations blink, and they're gone. The fireplace yawns cold, yet a scrap of vellum flutters in the ash. Unfurl it. Burn this after reading. Too late. Pal, you're immortalizing their oopsie in a YouTube script. Wax melts under your thumb, warm as a lie whispered at confession. Somewhere, a lute string snaps. High C sharp hangs in the air like a question. Salon doors groan, time's up. You retreat backward until a floorboard whimpers under your weight. Cabinet doors tremble, blue moonlight catches a fresh quill. Still dripping. You inch closer to the walnut desk, its surface littered with parchment ghosts of abandoned letters. The scribe's quill hovers above a fresh page, ink quivering like a hanged man's shadow. Did you know Spanish notaries once mixed their ink with iron salts and oak galls? Makes your modern ballpoint look downright primitive, though less likely to eat through parchment over centuries. Fun fact, some recipes called for vinegar or other bodily fluids. Let's just say medieval scribes weren't picky about their pantry staples. Imagine explaining that to your local Staples clerk. Your breath stirs a half-sealed letter, the wax still warm enough to leave thumbprints. That's the thing about 16th century correspondence. Every fold hides 3 truths and 7 lies. The scribe's sleeve snags on a dagger-sharp quill nib linen threads, unraveling like compromised alibis. Historians still argue whether red wax seals signaled urgency or just seasonal decoration trends. Right now, this one's bleeding carmine across the desk, a Rorschach blot begging for interpretation. You lean in, smell the panic sweat cutting through bergamot perfume. A dried seal cracks as you peer closer, Cretan scent of beeswax and desperation clinging to the air. The writer's hand jerks, splattering an ink drop shaped like the Iberian Peninsula. Talk about accidental cartography. Their chair screeches against terracotta tiles, a sound that make any archaeologist wince. 3 unfinished confessions stare up, all addressed to someone called Your Grace of the Unanswered. Harsh, one phrase repeats, the weight of unwritten words, getting darker with each draft. Ever tried signing a birthday card after 3 goblets of sack wine? Same energy. Moonlight glints off a dagger lying beside the inkwell. Occupational hazard or dramatic prop? Hard to say. The scribe pockets a sealed letter, its broken wax showing teeth marks. Funeral bells toll faintly across the plaza, each chime making the quill tremble. You've heard quieter jackhammers. When they finally stab the quill into its stand, the gesture screams mic drop in early modern Spanish. Ash drifts from a nearby brazier, flecking the desk like reluctant snowfall. Their boot heel grinds a fallen seal into the tiles, staining the stone with crushed regrets. Guess Aragonese spring cleaning involved more stomping than sweeping. The last candle gutters out its smoke, curling into the silhouette of a clenched fist. Somewhere downstairs, a lute string snaps. Coincidence? In this salon, doubtful. The snapped lute string's twang hangs in the air as silk hems sweep through the doorway. 5 noblewomen cluster around an oak table, their sleeves embroidered with enough peacocks to open a menagerie. Remember those sumptuary laws banning fancy threads for anyone below countess rank? Yeah, nobody here's obeying those. A duchess drags her cuff across an unfinished sonnet, leaving a snag worthy of modern dry cleaning bills. Laughter bubbles up until someone slaps a sealed letter onto the wood. Silence falls faster than a guillotine blade. Their perfume can't mask the secret beneath anise oil and jasmine masking. Is that lemon juice? Odd choice, until you recall Renaissance ladies used citrus to lighten hair. Imagine smelling like a walking sherbet candle. The youngest countess plucks a pearl from her headdress, rolls it across the parchment. Word games. Someone suggests too brightly. Their folded fans click like nervous crickets. Historians still argue whether these salons spread political schemes or just gossip about who wore last season's farthingale. One envelope rips open sharp as a dagger through velvet. The paper inside smells faintly of almonds, always ominous in pre-lab testing eras. A baroness reads aloud. The nightingale sings twice. At Palazzo del, she freezes midline. 16 jeweled hands dart toward their stomachers. You've seen toddlers hide candy faster. A marquise accidentally knocks over a wine carafe, crimson spreading across the sonnets. Medieval paper towels would have killed it. Someone mutters about migraine remedies. 3 excuses later, the room's emptier than a heretic's promise. Only the youngest remains, tracing the letter's broken seal with a hairpin. Her thumb comes away sticky with sap from a Valencian orange grove. The dying fire pops, sending shadows leaping up the tapestries. Your elbow brushes a forgotten goblet. It rings like a distant alarm bell. 3 heartbeats pass before the Duchess reappears, her face powdered pale as parchment. She grips a book of Petrarchan love poems, its spine creaking open to reveal a hollowed page. Inside, a single key blackened by fireplace soot. You barely glimpse the sea etched into its bow before she snaps the covers shut. Laughter echoes from the courtyard, but it's the shrill, unstable kind that ends in tears or treason. The Duchess's gaze meets yours across the wine-stained oak. Her smile doesn't reach her eyes. Neither does yours. Her thumbprint smudges the wax puddles, edge gold flecks glinting like trapped fireflies. You lean closer, recognizing the Medici diamond pattern melted into the seal. Renaissance nobles used these wax insignias like social media verification checks. But this one's flawed. A hairline crack splits the image. Or is that intentional? The Duchess fans herself with Petrarch's sonnets, each flutter wafting bergamot and suspicion. A draft, she murmurs, but the air's still as a tomb. You rub the wax between fingertips, sticky with memories of Valencia's orchards. Citrus, resin, a cheaper adhesive than beeswax, brittle enough to shatter under pressure. Clever, 3 droplets form a lopsided triangle near the parchment's edge. Historians still argue whether melted wax patterns hid battle plans or just distracted from sloppy calligraphy. Your nail catches on a raised fleck, 24-karat gold foil mixed into the sealing mix. Because why commit treason without glitter? A log collapses in the hearth, its sparks briefly illuminating cipher marks. You angle the letter toward the dying flames. The wax becomes translucent. Etched numbers appear. 7 minus 22 minus 1,492. Columbus hadn't even reached the Bahamas yet, but Aragonese nobles already feared incoming storms. The Duchess clears her throat, a sound like bones rattling in a silk purse. Her pinky taps the date. An anniversary. She lies smoothly. Everyone knew Ferdinand and Isabella expelled Jews that same year. Coincidence tastes bitter on your tongue. You pocket a wax fragment. It leaves a golden streak on your palm. 16th century alchemists believed powdered emeralds in sealing wax revealed liars. Modern X-rays proved them half right. Certain minerals do react to body heat. The Duchess's neck glistens. Footsteps approach. You slip the letter beneath a tapestry showcasing St. George's least convincing dragon slaying. A servant enters with quince paste and lies about fresh candles. His left sleeve bulges, matches the wax seal's crack perfectly. Moonlight bleeds through stained glass, slicing the room into colored silences. The Duchess offers you a fig dipped in honey. Sweets for sweet secrets, she croons. You bite down, the center stuffed with cloves. A common trick to mute telltale breath or hide poison. 3 more guests drift in, their chatter rehearsed. As a Latin mass, someone mentions the new Ottoman silk embargo. Another complains about lute strings snapping. You count 6 glances toward the fireplace's secret compartment, the one behind the andiron shaped like Edward of Portugal's least favorite hunting dog. The wax fragment warms in your fist, golden numbers now glinting through clenched fingers. Across the room, the servant knocks over a salt cellar. Bad luck, they chorus. His shrug says salt's cheaper than silence these days. Dawn's first light creeps in disguised as candle glow. The Duchess retrieves her book, the hollow key clinks against Dante's Inferno. She whispers a line about frozen souls, or maybe laundry instructions. Poets weren't big on punctuation. You exit as chapel bells drown her final syllable. The wax code itches in your sleeve, a forgotten confession, or perhaps just an overpriced shopping list for saffron and regret. Either way, it'll pair nicely with tomorrow's secrets. Your slipper catches on a warped oak plank that knew wobble wasn't there yesterday. Kneeling, you pry the board up with a hairpin stolen from last week's admirer. Dust motes swirl in a sunbeam. They settle on a velvet-lined compartment, no bigger than a prayer book. Folded parchments curl at the edges, their edges brittle as old vows. The top sketch shows a woman's profile, eyes heavy-lidded, lips parted mid-laughter. Someone took care with the shading, then crossed her face out so fiercely the quill tore through. 16th century lovers often hid letters in floor gaps, easier than dueling angry spouses. But the real prize lies beneath, a miniature portrait on vellum. The subject's a dead ringer for Joanna of Castile, right down to the Habsburg jaw. Historians still argue whether her madness was slander or payback for not producing male heirs. A faded ribbon binds the stack, its once red silk, now the color of dried blood. You tug it gently, the knot disintegrates. 17 letters spill out, each sealed with juniper resin instead of wax. Scented seals were the rage after Isabella of Portugal's perfumed invitations. Though juniper meant dangerous memory in certain circles, the third letter crackles open, its ink blotted by tears or wine. Words loop with the desperation of left-handed writers forced to use right-handed quills. Meet me where we buried the nightingale. Grim Renaissance nobles actually buried songbirds as love tokens, like flamingos at a 90s wedding, but way more depressing. Voices echo in the corridor. You shove the parchments under your skirt. The hinge creaks. A maid enters with fresh rushes for the floor. She hums a tune from your stack of letters, note for note. Her eyes dart to the loose plank. She drops a clove-studded orange peel as she leaves. Bribery or threat, poor Quinolo's dues. Moonlight returns your lute to the floor. The miniature portrait's back reveals a tiny labyrinth drawing the same pattern as Granada's sewage tunnels. Coincidence? Unlikely. Ferdinand used those tunnels to sneak troops into besieged cities. Romance and warfare shared the same playbook. A hair, silver blonde, slinks from between two letters. You hold it up to the window. It glints like the Duchess's scandalous headpiece from Section 3. The plot thickens, or maybe she just shed everywhere like a particularly dramatic cat. The final letter smells of iron gall ink and impending mistakes. Burn this. It begins, always a promising start. Turns out Maria de Luna's devout pilgrimage to Montserrat involved 9 secret stops at her lover's vineyards. Priests called it spiritual growth. Her accountant called it embezzlement. Tomato, you're pocketing the miniature when the floorboard snaps shut, taking a chunk of your skirt hem. 3 quick knocks sound from the wall behind you. Tap, tap, tap. The same rhythm as the lute player's interrupted aria last Tuesday. Your choices: investigate or pretend you're really into mopping rushes. The hidden panel slides open under your prodding. It reveals a child's leather shoe filled with ash. Disappointing. Until you notice the name stitched inside: Juan, Prince of Asturias, the Catholic monarch's only son. He died at 19, some say from fever, others whisper poison, in a rival's love potion. Either way, his nursery relic makes a fantastic hiding spot. Beneath the ash lies a ring-sized locket, its hinge rusted shut. You pry it open with the same hairpin that started this mess. Inside, painted eyes floating in sepia, no face attached. The left pupil has a tiny fleck of gold, matching the Medici seal from that incident with the poisoned figs. Distant laughter drills through the walls. You reassemble the compartment, mostly. The silver blonde hair gets tucked into your bodice, evidence or future embroidery thread. A floorboard creaks as you stand, sounding suspiciously like the word guilty. Sunrise stains the windows blood orange. Someone's dumped rosemary sprigs on the hallway brazier. The smoke smells like regret and roast chicken. The locket burns a hole against your ribs, its invisible eyes watching. You've got until Vespers to decide. Melt it for the gold, or start digging up nightingale graves. Rosemary smoke clings to your sleeves as Boothiel's hammer stone stares above. Lanterns along the walls dim in unison, servants lowering wicks with practiced precision. The floor shifts beneath your soles, not paranoia. Someone's cut the supporting ropes on the tapestry rug. You press against a cold marble pillar as 3 councilmen rush past, their robes flapping like crows' wings. One clutches vellum, so thin you see his thumbprint through it. Ferdinand and Isabella, standardized paper thickness for tax records in 1492. But this isn't a tax notice. The dropped decree crackles under your slipper before you can pretend not to see it. Moonlight reveals a seal pressed with turpentine-scented amber instead of wax. King Ferdinand's personal mix. Historians still argue whether his 1512 Burgos edict targeted Jewish converts or just aristocrats skimming olive oil profits. Either way, ownership gets messy faster than a honey-gloved fistfight. The ink glistens weirdly, still damp. Council scribes famously used almond milk to prevent yellowing and left notes that smelled like marzipan for days. This reeks of cheap vinegar and poor life choices. You squint at the looping cursive. All imported saffron must pass through. A wine stain obliterates the next word. Classic. Beneath the splotch, 16 tiny pinholes form the Big Dipper, constellations meant urgent in Aragon's court, or somebody's really into astronomy crafts. Your thumbnail traces the holes. They align with the fresco above depicting Charles Ivy's questionable haircut. Coincidence? Ask the 700 peasants who died fighting over his hairpiece tax. Footfalls thunder closer. You tuck the vellum into your bodice beside the locket. It scratches like a cricket trapped in linen. The Duke himself bursts into the hall, doublet unlaced, gray chest hair peeking through. His eyes dart to the skewed tapestry rug. Then your innocent, whistling face. Dude's pupils are dilated enough to spot heretics from 40 paces. His pointer finger jabs the air, knuckle swollen from signaturing related incidents. Fetch he squints at your hands. The sentence dies as a muffled crash echoes upstairs. 7% of Spanish nobles had chronic memory loss from lead-glazed wine cups. But this guy's just over-caffeinated. A maid accidentally drops a platter of goat cheeses, your cue to bolt. The hidden staircase behind the fountain reeks of stale urine and poor decision-making. Your elbow knocks loose a brick. Dust reveals scratches counting days. 14 vertical lines, then a 15th slashed diagonal, the exact time it took the Duke's forces to sack Naples. Laughter explodes 2 floors up, probably those Medici twins betting on rat fights again. The vellum warms against your ribs like a living thing. You unfold it in a broom closet thick with lye fumes. That missing saffron word, Toledo. Except someone's glued the gap shut with, is that hair gel. 16th century hair gel. Made from boiled sheep tendons and rosewater, crumbles within hours. Perfect for time-sensitive blackmail. Peeling it back reveals the real destination, Valencia, where the Duke's mistress just retired to a nunnery. How pious. Voices crescendo outside the closet. You swallow the vellum, tastes like sheep and bad life choices, then grab a mop. The Duke's wheezing grows louder as you scrub imaginary stains. His shadow looms a distorted giant on the wall. 3 quick breaths. Then he charges past, chasing a servant with his misplaced codpiece. The swallowed decree burns halfway to your stomach. On the bright side, tonight's dinner will be fascinating. The swallowed vellum scratches your throat like a cat's tongue. Maybe not the wisest ingestion choice, though technically, you've just joined the 93% of Renaissance Spaniards who ate parchment for fiber. Discretion tip: boil it first. Lye fumes still sting your eyes as you exit the closet, straight into a draft carrying jasmine and iron. The prison tower's lower cells leak cold air through floor vents. Torchless corridors make navigation interesting. Your toe stubs something sharp, a discarded hairpin shaped like a scorpion's tail. Duchess Catalina's signature accessory. She disappeared after criticizing the king's falconry skills. Shuffling footsteps echo ahead. You flatten against a tapestry depicting St. George stabbing something suspiciously dragon-adjacent. A gaunt figure materializes, ropey scars where ears should be. The poet Alvaro de Mella, banished after reciting verses about the Queen's onion breath diplomacy. His cracked lips move ceaselessly, a whispered poem about fig trees and treason. Demella presses rotting palms to the wall. His nails scratch stone in rhythm, tap tap slide. Recognizing the pattern shocks you. It's the chorus from Entre Roses, Why Espinas, banned after one too many metaphors comparing monarchy to hemorrhoids. Historians still argue whether he was imprisoned for heresy or just bad similes. An iron-barred window cuts moonlight into prison stripes across his face. He spits on the floor, a black glob that sizzles. Northern Spain's poets used iron gall ink, and apparently their saliva. You crouch to inspect the stain. The acid-etched stone reads Alora, a town torched during the Malaga revolts. Demella hisses. His sleeve rips as he shoves a crumpled page through the bars. The parchment feels wrong, too slick. 17th century waterproof paper involved washing it in horse urine. Results varied. You smooth the sheet against your thigh. It's not poetry. A map of the Guadalquivir River Delta with X's marking flooded villages. Bloodstains dot the parchment like mosquito bites. Demella taps the largest X. Your thumbnail fits perfectly into the hole. Coincidence? Probably not. A door slams upstairs, keys jingle. The poet grabs your wrist hard enough to bruise. His breath smells of soured wine and burnt sugar. Someone's smuggling him sweets. He scribbles on your palm with a fingertip, the letters wet and fading. Hell is a sonnet missing its volta. Poetic and unhelpful. You pocket the map as boots clomp down spiral stairs. The guard's shadow stretches around the corner, oddly spiked. He's wearing the ceremonial Montera helmet for executions. Not ideal. Demella shoves you toward a grate. The rusty metal groans. It hasn't budged since Isabella funded Columbus' voyage. 3 kicks later, success. You tumble into a rat-filled sewage channel. The map survives. Your dignity, less so. Torchlight glimmers ahead. Voices chanting vespers. The chapel's back entrance oozes incense. You press the damp parchment against a statue's marble plinth. Ink bleeds, revealing names in reverse. Turns out the Duke's mistress didn't enter that nunnery voluntarily. A novice's footsteps approach. You hide behind a confessional smelling of sweat and bergamot. The ink keeps spreading, now showing a recipe for almond-stuffed partridge. Irrelevant, unless the herbs listed are coded amounts. Numbers hide in the dumbest places. Moonlight catches something on your palm. Demella's fading message has resolved into legibility. Sheep's milk cancels the poison. You sniff the swallowed vellum's residue. Sheep Valencia. Oh, someone spiked the Duke's saffron imports with nightshade. But who's the target? 5 dozen nobles get chronic flatulence. Or 1 king gets chronic death. The answer's probably stuck between your molars. Laughter erupts in the courtyard. A stable boy chases chickens through the archway. You slip into the vegetable garden, plucking mint leaves to mask your parchment breath. The night's still young and packed with poor decisions. Your boothiel crushes mint into the courtyard gravel. The scent clashes with blood drying under your fingernails. That stable boy's chicken chase wasn't poultry-related. His dagger hilt gleams with the Archbishop of Zaragoz's crest. Historians still argue whether His Eminence poisoned 3 popes or just had terrible kitchen staff. Smoke snakes from an upper window, the spies' chambers. 17th century arson tip. Walnut oil makes flames burn hotter and smell like roasting chestnuts. You're halfway up the ivy when a tile cracks. Your grip slips. For the record, wall scaling in silk hose. Not recommended. The spies' floorboards squeak. A Gregorian chant underfoot. A shredded mattress spills goose feathers and saffron threads. The Duke's missing spice stores took a detour. On the desk, broken quills, a half-eaten fig, and a letter ending mid-word. The final S bleeds into the vellum like a dying serpent. Ever smell burning hair? That's human skin parchment igniting. You grab tongs too late. The fireplace devours a corner of the document. Flakes swirl upward, forming a temporary X in the air. Geography joke? Probably not. Under the desk, a lead capsule the size of a hazelnut. Bite it open. Classic S-Forza spy tech. Inside, a code strip wrapped around a desiccated bee. Milanese intelligence. Agents used pollen maps. But this one's wing markings suggest Seville's Alcazar Gardens. The door bursts. You swallow the bee. Texture. Like chewing a bristly raisin. A guard's halberd sweeps the room. His breath reeks of garlic and sheep's milk. Demella's warning takes new meaning. You discreetly spit into a vase. Black saliva. Great. Now you're a walking inkwell. Floorboards near the hearth give underfoot. A hidden niche holds 3 bottles opium tincture, rosewater, and something labeled venom regale, royal poison. Just the thing for awkward family reunions. The rosewater's cork pulls free with a sigh. Turns out it's 43-year-old brandy. 5-star vintage. If you enjoy sipping fireplace soot, drunken laughter floats through the wall. The Duke's cousin practicing his coronation speech again. A draft carries the tang of molten lead from the armory. Someone's making seal stamps. Or bullets. The spy's inkwell teeters, spilling liquid that etches the desktop. Iron gall's acidic punch burns your nostrils. You blot it with your sleeve, transferring the stain into a perfect map of Catalonia. Accidental cartography, your new side hustle. Footsteps approach. You're out the window barely as the door explodes inward. They'll find the lead capsule's husk, the bee leg stuck in your molar, and a suspiciously damp copy of Celestina on the nightstand. Let future scholars debate whether that particular play was really just about star-crossed lovers, or trading military secrets via laundry marks. Your knees hit the cobbles as the tower bell strikes 1. Somewhere above, a scream drowns in the clangor. The bees buzzing in your stomach now. Or maybe that's last night's questionable paella. Either way, you've got 8 hours until the poison finishes its final stanza. Lace gloves brush your forearm as the Countess stumbles against you, her breath sweet with marzipan, and something bitter beneath. Almond extract or cyanide. tough call. Her cuff grazes your poisoned palm. A paper triangle disappears into the frilly abyss of her sleeve. 17th century fact: Spanish noblewomen's gloves averaged 23 buttonholes. Perfect for smuggling unsigned treaties. She laughs like clinking champagne coupes, the hollow kind. Darling, your doublet's missing a thread. Her thumb rubs the spot, leaving a saffron smear. Ah, the Duke's stolen spice shipment makes another cameo. You glance at the hourglass. 7.5 hours left. That's either a liver failure countdown or last call for tapas. Candlelight catches the metallic sheen of her stomacher. Not embroidery, tiny cipher symbols stitched with silver wire. Historians still debate whether noblewomen's bodices ever encoded battle strategies or just saucy poetry. You fake a sneeze, snagging a loose thread. With nobles, always follow the loose threads and the cake crumbs. She glides toward a fresco of Judith beheading Holofernes, artistic foreshadowing. Her glove dips into a ceramic dish of sugared violets. When she withdraws, one fingertip glistens with honey. Odd, until you spot the page boy licking his fingers near the ledger. Invisible ink, Formula 53, honey, alum, and horse urine. Classy. The drop hits parchment as she accidentally spills wine. A servant blots it, transferring the honeyed message to a napkin. Quirky tidbit: court chemists once used schnauzer saliva to develop better blotting paper. You make mental notes, and also mental vomit sounds. Her glove snakes toward a goblet, crushing a beetle beneath the stem. Its iridescent wing sticks to the silver. Traders in Cadiz paid in beetle shells during the silk shortage of 1642. This stain, probably just a snack mishap. The tower bell tolls. A servant startles, shattering a plate. Shards skitter across the floor, forming a rough outline of Majorca. The Countess freezes. Her gloves curl, knuckles straining against lace. You step on a porcelain sliver. Your Boothil grinds it into the Balearic Sea. Geography: jokes land better with maps, and fewer bleeding feet. She unfurls a fan painted with grazing sheep. Innocent, until you spot the charcoal smudges. Rubbing the vellum reveals hidden flock positions. 18 battalions disguised as woolly clouds. Clever, you'd applaud. But clapping's suspicious when everyone's hands are occupied with treason. Her maid trips, dropping a lace-making pillow. The Countess bends to help her gloves, skimming the floor tiles. 3 centuries later, restorers will find a minuscule code beneath this very spot. Spoiler: it's a recipe for quince paste laced with hemlock. The gloves twitch as a guard coughs. Beeswax, your old friend, drips from the candelabra onto her cuff. She pinches it off, rolling the warm blob between thumb and forefinger. Forbidden wax seal protocol, your chest tightens. Or maybe that's the poison's third act twist. A giggle escapes her, high and brittle. The sound ricochets off the armored bust of Ferdinand III. His metallic ears have heard worse. You rub your sternum, hope that flutters anxiety, not your spleen dissolving. 6 hours left. The bee in your gut approves. She offers a gloved hand, the left one. You kiss air above the fabric, cinnamon and gunpowder residue cling to your lips. Breakfast of compromised nobility. Her finger taps yours twice, Morse code before Morse. 2 hours till what? Your death. The Duke's strawberry harvest. Ambiguous threats, the spice of court life. Her glove creaks as she grips the banister. Horsehair stiffener archivists found similar strands in Anne of Austria's love letters. Coincidence or equestrian stationery? The Countess vanishes upstairs, a rustle of silk, and one dropped button. You pocket it. The back bears a scratched constellation. Cygnus or a drunken owl? Your thumb rubs the engraving, iron gall ink stains the grooves. The night whispers through an open window, carrying the scents of orange blossoms and forged steel. Somewhere, a blacksmith's hammer beats out the rhythm of your slowing pulse. 5 hours, maybe 4. The constellation-etched button burns your palm as you slip into the shadowed alcove. Here's where they stored the Duchess's retired astrolabes. Your candle snuffs out. Moonlight streams through a cracked celestial globe. 16th century navigators used such spheres to plot trade routes and covertly map rebellion supply lines. The glass fractures Cygnus into jagged pieces, a swan butchered mid-flight. Your fingernail catches on a star chart pinned beneath an ivory divider. Vellum worn thin from midnight revisions. Someone's been editing the heavens. Ursa Major's paws now clutch 3 new stars, arranged like fortresses on a battlefield. Historians still argue whether court astronomers doubled as military tacticians or just hated their patron's horoscope. Blotting sand cascades from a ruptured hourglass. You catch a whiff of crushed lapis lazuli. Quirky tidbit, Aragonese mapmakers added ground sapphire to sand for divine blue drying effects. You press a palm to the spilled grains. They cling like metallic dust. When you lift your hand, the moon reveals embedded symbols. 6 arrows pointing to Vega, or 6 daggers, depends on your sun's sign. The chart rustles. A corner unfolds itself. There, beneath Capricorn's twisted horns, minute numerals swarm like ants. Payment records, battle codes. You squint. The numbers resolve into dates, all Fridays. The spicy scent of iron gall ink rises, cut with bergamot oil. Someone's been scribbling during tea time. A floorboard groans, you freeze. Your heel grinds, blotting sand into the cracks. 3 centuries from now, a very confused janitor will scrape this up as rare azure grout. The chart trembles. A hidden slip of rice paper drifts down. You snatch it midair and immediately regret it. The handwriting's adorned with tiny comet doodles. Saturn's rings suggest unrest in Lombardy. This guy's astrology takes for revisionist history. Your eye skims further. Jupiter's 4th moon aligns with the Duke's birthday. Recommend postponing harvest. Cancel the party balloons. A wine stain blooms in the corner, purple as a royal bruise. You lick your thumb, dab at the spot. The parchment sizzles. Acid ink clever. The stain dissolves, revealing cipher text beneath. 5 syllables that rhyme with heresy. Your left eyelid twitches, the poison's encore or allergies. 4 hours left. Place your bets. The sand keeps trickling, each grain ticks louder than the blacksmith's hammer. You sweep a handful into your sleeve. Make it rain on the chart. Blue particles gather around altered constellations, outlining a mountain pass near Valencia, invasion route, or wine tour itinerary. Hard to say with these people. A moth lands on Leo's mane. Its wings mimic the frescoed ceiling. Flap once for treason, twice for siesta. You blow gently. It spirals into an armillary sphere. The outer ring spins aligned with Mars. Or maybe Tuesday. Cosmology's flexible here. Your sleeve snags on the globe's brass ring. A hidden compartment clicks open more charts. These ones smell of rosewater and gunpowder. You unroll the smallest and cough. Not star positions. The entire Milky Way's been redrawn as a sneering face. Libra's scales dangle from its ear like an obscene earring. A date scribbled below. Tomorrow's dawn. Coordinates mark the eastern tower. The Duke's birthday observatory, or a rebellion's opening move. You fold the chart, tuck it behind your belt. Something crunches. A dried cicada wing falls from the vellum. Gibraltar's stargazers once used these as makeshift bookmarks, the original page flags. Footsteps echo in the corridor, time to depart. You kick sand over your tracks. Blue grains spark like trapped starlight. The hidden compartment groans shut, swallowing astral mockeries. As you retreat, your shoulder clips a hanging quadrant. It sways, casting a crescent-shaped shadow over the eastern tower's position. The door creaks. You slip through just as the quadrant stills. 4 hours become 3. Somewhere below, the blacksmith's hammer hesitates. Missed a beat, or maybe the anvil's finally tired. You glide toward the dying hearth, 3 hours left and counting. The goblet's stem feels warm, abandoned mid-sip. Honeyed wine coats your tongue, cloying as a courtier's compliment. 16th century records show Aragonese nobles added rosemary to mask arsenic's bitterness. Your pinky brushes the porcelain rim. Dregs cling like parasitic amber jewels. A log shifts. Embers illuminate half-burned parchment in the ashes. Lovers' letters surrendered to flame, the Duke's seal barely melting. You kneel, heat prickling your knees, and stab the poker into the coals. 3 fragmented words emerge. Swear the child bears. Typical family reunion drama. Quirky fact. Valencia's vintners once strained wine through bread crusts to catch sediment. Or poison. Your teeth grind a stray sugar crystal left over from some Duke's cavity habit. The letters curl like dying spiders, their secrets reduced to carbon confetti. Historians still argue whether Isabella of Castile banned love notes or just hated bad poetry. Your sleeve catches fire. Oops. You pat it out, scent of singed linen joining the burnt wax aroma. A scrap flutters upward, snatch it. The handwriting's all loops and desperation. Meet me where we buried the fig sapling. Romantic, or a code for treasonous compost. The goblet mocks you, empty save for one stubborn drop. You append it. Thick syrup oozes onto your wrist. It writes VII in slow descent before crusting grate. Now your arm's a sundial. Somewhere upstairs, glass shatters. 3 hours become 2 3/4. Generous estimate. A servant's broom scrapes the corridor. You freeze. The hearth's warmth feels suddenly aggressive. Your stolen quadrant digs into your ribs. Time to relocate. But first, pocket the fig sapling scrap. Low stakes. High drama. The medieval version of leaving a Tinder date on read. Ash drifts onto the goblet's rim. You blow it clean. The porcelain chips, revealing lead glaze beneath. Perfect, heavy metal nightcap with your treason. Your tongue finds a vinegar aftertaste. Someone really committed to the sour grape aesthetic. The blacksmith's hammer resumes, each strike sinking with your throbbing temple. A moth kamikazes into the wine dregs, wings beating the VII into sludge. You scrape it free, the numeral smears into oblivion. 7 o'clock, 7 days, 7 deadly sins. Ambiguity's the spice of courtly life. The hearth coughs. A final parchment scrap flares green. Copper sulfate in the ink, pyrotechnic passive aggression. You rise, your shadow swallows the dying fire. Somewhere, a lute plays a off-key ballad about doomed romance. The goblet trembles in your grip, or maybe that's your hand. Doesn't matter. 2 hours now, the fig tree waits. You ditch the chalice. It rolls under a tapestry. Let future archaeologists wonder. Wind snakes through cracks, extinguishing the last ember. Your breath hangs milky in the sudden dark. The quadrant's sharp edge nicks your palm, a sticky reminder. Time bleeds faster here. You step over the broom left in the doorway. Servants these days, no work ethic. The corridor smells of burned sugar and dread. Some duke's dessert tragedy, or your singed sleeve. Either way, keep moving. 3 words replay in your skull. Buried fig sapling could mean the orchard, or the ambassador from Smyrna's nickname. Histories, a choose-your-own-adventure with worse parchment. Your slipper slips on a wine puddle, how thematic. You catch yourself against a tapestry, it rips. 15th century Aubusson weave rats, the fabric parts to reveal a bricked-up archway. Dusty handprints swarm the mortar, one set small enough to be a child's. Your quadrant's shadow bisects them, tick-tock. Down the hall, a door slams. 2 hours dissolve into 90 minutes. You press on, the fig tree scrap burning a hole in your bodice. Or doublet. Or whatever the budget department gave you this season. Prioritize. You stumble into a forgotten sewing chamber, moonlight slicing through moth-eaten drapes. A silver needle winks from atop an abandoned tambour frame. 16th century Spanish silk cost more per ounce than saffron. Hence all those mendied tapestries hiding bare walls. You pluck the needle, its point pricks your thumb. A ruby bead swells perfect for signing invisible confessions. The embroidery hoop holds a half-finished falcon, stitches jagged where the thread snapped. But look closer. The bird's talons form Roman numerals. XIV. Quirky fact: Catherine of Aragon's seamstresses reportedly encoded treason in their sleeve ruffles. You tug a loose gold thread, 3 knots. 4, 5. Someone couldn't commit to a treasonous craft project. Heat flushes your neck. Too many hours inhaling lead glaze fumes. The needle trembles as you probe the linen. XXI blooms beneath oxidized silver thread. 21 what? Days until rebellion. Ounces of smuggled gunpowder. Historians still argue whether Habsburg blackwork patterns were maps or just bad at birds. A moth-eaten sample book crumbles under your elbow. Pages flutter open, embroidery motifs labeled in spidery Catalan. Lily for famine. Acorn for invasion. Rabbit for extramarital rendezvous. Classic. Your laugh sticks in your throat. Footsteps shuffle beyond the door. You stab the needle into the falcon's eye. Copper tang floods your mouth from the old prick. The door creaks. A maid freezes mid-curtsy. Her apron bulges with snipped threads, crimson, gold, black. You wave your bleeding thumb like a papal banner. She flees. The needle stays planted. New blood seeps into linen. Dawn leaks through broken panes. Your shadow puppets a warped eclipse on the wall. 3 threads dangle from the maid's fleeing path. Red meets gold meets black. You crouch, pluck them knots at each juncture. 5, 9, 13. Prime numbers, or just sloppy housekeeping. The falcon's embroidered wing tears as you stand heart-pounding like a novitiate's first lie. A floorboard winds beneath the loom. You pry it up. Mothballs and mildew, then the glint of a tin thimble. Inside, oilskin packets of letters. One bears your name in onion juice ink, the cheap spies perfume. You exhale, words materialize. Beware the rabbit's warren. Not the cryptic threat you'd hoped for. The sample book tears as you flip pages here. Rabbit motif. Instructions. 2 pearl stitches indicate false allegiance. Your nail traces the diagram, pricked fingertips smearing the paper. Silence stretches, then the distant squeal of a whetstone. Someone's sharpening more than their wit. Needlework manuals claim silk thread weakens. When stored damp, you test it. The falcon's golden wing unravels with one tug, revealing chain-stitched coordinates. 41. 15 degrees N. 1. 38 degrees E. Modern-day Zaragoza. Helpful if you had Google Maps. Or a time machine. The maid's shears lie abandoned. You test the blades, dull enough to shred parchment. Or a traitor's cravat. Your stolen quadrant digs into your palm, calculations spiral. Latitude minus ambition multiplied by paranoia. The math never lies, only the mathematicians. Footsteps return heavier now. You slip the thimble into your sleeve. It burns like a guilty secret. The embroidery hoop crashes to the floor. Falcon disintegrating into avian confetti. XIV becomes XI becomes IX in the debris. Time's a fickle clockmaker here. Daylight exposes your sins, the bloodied linen, snapped threads, stolen coordinates. You kick the sample book under a rug, let future historians blame mice. The maid's shears glint in the growing light, you pocket them. Balanced breakfast, one threat, two utensils. A church bell tolls 7 strikes. Late for vespers, or early for executions. You exit backward, sweeping your footprints with a tattered curtain. The silver needle still protrudes from the wall, a metallic spider awaiting its next victim. Your thimble finger throbs, counting each heartbeat toward the rabbit's warren. Moonlight pools on warped floorboards as you enter what smells like a rodent's paradise, musky and sweet with decay. A shredded velvet curtain reveals stacked cabinets, their drawers chewed into organic art. Betrothal contracts spill across a tilting desk, parchment edges flayed by tiny teeth. 16th century Spanish dowries often included linen undergarments, tailored by nuns, blessed by bishops. You lift a nibbled document, moonbeams spotlight the gaps. Hereby pledge 17 mares, and the rest becomes rat salad. A squeak freezes your breath. 3 pairs of beady eyes gleam from the wainscoting, quartz marbles dipped in judgment. Quirky fact, archivists once hired blind minstrels to sing to rats, believing music deterred nibbling. Judging by the ledger confetti underfoot, they needed better playlists. You snap a dried lavender sachet from a shelf. Purple dust rains down. The rodent's retreat protocol for avoiding Shakespearean apothecaries. You rub the crumbled buds between palms, scent triggering a memory. Mother's trousseau list, 12 goat cheeses, 3 bolts of Flemish wool, 1 chaste-minded lapdog. The contract beneath your elbow lacks such whimsy. Half the dowry's numerals turned into lace. 50 becomes 5. 200 becomes optimistic scribble. Historians still argue whether Valencia's rat plagues corrupted records or ambitious heirs ordered selective edits. Your thumbnail traces a bite mark, jagged, urgent, not the careful gnawing of hunger. This looks spiteful. A muffled clang echoes through the wall, forges firing at midnight. The rats scatter as you kneel, knee cracking like a walnut. Beneath the desk, a gnawed hole gapes, big enough for a treasonous chihuahua. You probe the void. Cobwebs cling like expired vows. Your fingers close on something cold, a rat's nest of document fragments and buttons. Scooping the haul into moonlight reveals pearl shirt studs and a molar human wrapped in treaty draft. The parchment's sole legible phrase, shall forfeit all lands east of the convenient erasure. Distant laughter trickles through the ceiling. Someone's celebrating partial financial obliteration. You pocket a pearl button. Emergency bribery always beats prayer. The remaining contracts flutter as you riffle through, every third figure reduced to biology homework. 50 sheep, gone. 12 olive groves. A rodent's brunch. A wax seal catches your eye, intact despite the carnage. The Archduke's crest, but warmer to the touch. You chip a corner, beeswax layered over cheaper tallow. Sugar escaping wartime rations. The brittle shell flakes away, exposing a charcoal sketch beneath. A woman's face, lips parted mid-warning. Your pulse echoes in your molars. The desk drawer sticks, rusted latch protesting. Inside, quills nibbled into toothpicks frame a gilt ledger. Page after page of intact numbers, interest rates, tax percentages. A column titled Rodent Remediation. Irony fumes rise from the parchment. You tear a blank margin, scrawl a fang-shaped symbol with rat ink. The resulting splatter resembles a map or a Rorschach test for the desperate. Mice skitter above the plaster, sealing their tiny feet mimicking rain. You press an ear to the wall, muffled voices debating grain tariffs or declaring war. Hard to tell when nobles pronounce both identically. The ledger's last entry freezes your breath. Paid 3 gold coins for pest removal. Raccoons miscounted as rats. Footsteps crescendo in the hall. You duck behind mothballed tapestries. A servant enters, humming off-key, and dumps armfuls of fresh parchment onto the desk. The rats applaud with excited chitters. Moonlight caresses the top document, a revised dowry list. All the zeros intact. All the livestock doubled. You wait for the click of the latch before emerging, knees popping a counterpoint to the rodent symphony. The new contract gleams, ink still glistening. Your fingertip hovers over the sum. 500 ducats. Then you notice fresh nibble marks already grace the margin. Some pests work faster than scribes. A rat lazes atop the ledger, paws crossed, tail twitching. You nod professional to professional. It bears yellow teeth. Fair enough. The distant forge clangs again, the metallic heartbeat of 100 whispered schemes. You slip a half-gnawed quill into your hair, improvised lockpick, or future salad skewer. The rat watches, unimpressed. Dawn's first blush seeps through cracked shutters, turning contracts into golden tombstones. You exit backward, sweeping lavender dust over your trail. The pearled button weighs heavy, a tiny eye in your pocket. Somewhere above, a bride weeps over missing sheep. Somewhere below, rats rebuild empires with inky crumbs. The ledger stays open, a single phrase surviving the night's feast. Debtors shall pay in blood or barley. Always the fine print. The lute's first note hangs like a hooked fish, twitching in the stale air. You drift toward the sound, past banquet tables crusted with decades of dried wine. 16th century Spanish courts hosted lute duels, musicians battling, until strings snapped or nobles nodded off. The melody coils around your ankles, a serpent you're half tempted to feed. You find the minstrel in a butler's pantry, his instrument dented from doubling as a doorstop. Fingers dance across frayed gut strings, each pluck whispering through onion sacks. His tune matches the rhythm of that burnt letter you found last Thursday. Coincidence? Only if you believe in friendly ghosts. A high C-sharp shrieks, the string vibrating like a stepped-on cat. Historians still argue whether King Ferdinand's court employed musicians as spies or just overtipped the gossipy ones. The minstrel grimaces, cutting the snapped string with a cheese knife. You crouch to retrieve the coil, still humming with residual spite. Tuning's an alchemist's game here, he mutters, plucking a replacement from his collar. Damp warps the wood, greed warps the patrons. His thumbnail picks at wax, sealing the string's parchment wrapper. You recognize the crest, same as the smuggled treaty in Section 9. 3 spices hit your nose: cinnamon, deceit, and mold. The minstrel tunes the new string, testing each peg with a physicist's despair. His pinky finger bears a callus shaped like a quill nib. Quirky tidbit: lutenists once used dried squid ink for finger stains. This guy favors something more metallic. You lean against a ham hock, its age-defying classification. The melody resumes, a love ballad, a naval dispatch. Notes blur like drunk scribes. Your palm sweats around the snapped string. It pulses like a captured vein. Steel yourself. This isn't a souvenir shop. A servant crashes through the door, tossing a cabbage at the minstrel's head. Crisp your trills. The Duke's migraine's back. The musician switches to a lullaby, slower than a snail's honeymoon. You press a coin onto the ham tarnish transferred to your thumb. The minstrel's eyes flick to your pocket, where the broken string now resides. His next chord tastes of burnt sugar. You hum along, testing. His eyebrow twitches. There it is, the hitch from the coded grain reports. 7 notes up, 5 down. Lyrics optional. Damp sheet music clings to your sleeve. You peel it off like a scab. The margins swarm with chicken scratch annotations. Soft here, Lady Inacutes has a molar abscess. Practical gossip. But between the staves, tiny numbers, coordinates, dates, inventory counts. The minstrel stretches a string, testing its surrender point. Second, lutes in the wine cellar, lovely resonance if you ignore the screaming barrels. His wink costs extra. You pocket the sheet music, flavored notes dissolving on your tongue. C minor, always a morning key. Footsteps thunder above, someone's racing to mismanage the realm. The lutenist accelerates his tempo, fingers blurring. A high G snaps, striking your cheek like a paper cut. He shrugs. Happens when you play requiems for the living. You suck the blood off your knuckle iron and pour life choices. The broken string curls in your palm, a noose for secrets. Somewhere, a countess chokes on her own lies. Somewhere, a rat drags a ducal seal into the walls. The minstrel's next melody spirals, a helix of apologies and exit strategies. Dawn arrives, uninvited gray light, exposing the pantry's fungal empires. You toss the coin-scarred ham to a passing kitchen boy. His disgusted face mirrors yours when reading tax codes. The lutenist packs his instrument, velvet case sporting suspicious bullet holes. He leaves the cheese knife stabbed into the wall, a metronome for anarchists. You exit through the scullery, stepping over a snoozing mastiff. The broken lute string warms in your fist, a tangible comma in an endless sentence. Behind you, someone reattaches the high C sharp. It wails, a widow's final breath. You keep walking. Some prisons aren't worth the key. Heat licks your ankles as you kneel, embers blink beneath crumpled vellum. The portrait's remains smirk up at you, one charcoal, eye intact. Renaissance nobles treated likenesses as legal currency. Burning a face meant rewriting history. You prod the ash gold leaf flakes stick like cowardly glitter. A locket chain glints, its oval frame half melted into Rorschach shapes. You pocket it blind, the warmth suggests recent destruction. 5 heartbeats later your palm throbs. Quirky fact, wealthy Aragonese women wore lockets stuffed with saffron or arsenic-laced sugar. Safety first. The fireplace arch still sweats resin. Someone burned pine for sentimentality. Your thumbnail scores the soot. Layers reveal multiple burnings. Yesterday's grain reports. Last week's love letters. A duchy's worth of lies. Historians still argue whether incinerated portraits counted as legal annulments or just petty revenge. Footsteps approach. You still taste the minstrel's metallic high C sharp. Ash puffs as you stand, a ghostly tutu around your knees. The locket's chain fuses to your coin pouch, your own personal brand. Across the room, a wall sconce holds 3 candles, then 2. You study the salvaged face under moonlight, features blurred by haste. Egg tempera and hubris, the rich man's fingerprint. Experts think crushed lapis, lazuli flecks denoted royalty. Your thumb rubs a blue smudge. Street urchins sold pigeon feather substitutes. Voices erupt downstairs. Clustered consonants you translate as incompetent guards. The locket clicks open empty, except for singed velvet. Wait, press the hinge thrice. A miniature slips out, painted on a thumbnail-sized goat tooth. Smiles lie, but teeth confess. The face matches your pocket sketch from section 5. Same crooked nose. Same erased by time anonymity. You scrape soot from the portrait's remains 3 layers down, a child's doodle. Stick figures holding hands, charcoal smeared by tear-shaped burns. Dawn creeps in judgmental. Your shadow stretches the ravaged face into a carnival mirror. That melted chain now moons as a belt accessory. Steampunk's medieval ancestor. A servant enters, yawning loud enough to shake dust from the rafters. Morning piety ritual. He mumbles, tossing rosemary onto the coals. Smoke fogs your stolen evidence. His broom handle taps Morse code on the tiles, unintentional or lethal. You mimic his yawn, exiting with ashes in your hair. The courtyard fountain bleeds rust, its cherubs missing wings. You dunk the locket, steam hisses. 27 seconds later, the portrait fragment floats up. Faded ink script swims beneath paint numbers. Names. Apologies. Water dissolves the truth into Rorschach blots. Palace gossip drifts through an orange tree, its branches heavy with debt-laden nobles. Someone claims the Duke's new mistress paints over old portraits. Cheaper than commissioning. More fun than accountability. You squeeze the locket. Its tooth now bites your palm. A window shutter slams, your cue to evaporate. The chain leaves a red wheal on your neck, fashionable suffering. 3 corridors later, you're picking soot from your teeth. That face haunts like a forgotten riddle, answers burned before the question formed. Rain suddenly applauds. Ivy shakes diamonds onto your collar. The locket warms again, or maybe that's infection. You shelter beneath a tapestry of hunting dogs, mapling a stag. Appropriate. Upstairs, a woman screams, a familiar musical pitch. High C sharp resurrected. Your boots squelch toward the stables. Each step squibs a liver-spotted memory. That tooth miniature winks from your sleeve cuff. Some truths survive fire, water, even regicidal housekeepers. But portraits die like the vain bastards they flatter. Rainwater drips from your eyelashes as you push into a forgotten study. The stables can wait. Golden foil litters the floor like shed snake skins. Royal invitations curl on the desk, their fancy script bleeding into Rorschach puddles. You touch a warped Y in King Ferdinand's name. The ink smears. 16th century scribes used egg white glaze to seal gilded letters, rigid as the nobles themselves. These melted like sugar skulls. A servant sweeps foil shreds, each crunch echoing her boredom. Her basket overflows with crumpled grandeur. Wedding invitations, she mutters, kicking a sodden scrap. Third cousin's third wife's third, the math dies. You pocket a torn seal noticed, but unprotested. Quirky tidbit, Toledo's elite allegedly hired professional mourners to cry salt tears onto documents. Authenticity markup. 3 letters cling to the desks, edge their wax seals, weeping red trails. You lift the driest one, water damage can't mask the scented oil. Jasmine and desperation. The vellum wrinkles under your thumb, a warped map of someone's bad week. Blotted phrases suggest late-night revisions, prosperous unions scratched into tolerable arrangement. The servant's broom freezes mid-swipe. You cough, suddenly engrossed in ceiling carvings. Wooden grapevines choke the rafters, their chiseled fruit symbolizing oppression, abundance, bad interior design. She resumes sweeping foil sticks to her damp hem. You mimic her rhythm, tracing water stains on the nearest invitation. Salt crystallizes along the edges. Historians still argue whether noble tear streaks were emotional leaks or strategic embellishments. Moonlight betrays a fingerprint's path through ink, index, middle thumb. Someone gripped this while crying. You scrape salt grains into your palm. Taste confirms Mediterranean brine. Or maybe sweat. Or shitty luck. The servant hums a ballad about drowned sailors, peppy dirge for minimum wage. Your stolen seal warms, digging a crescent into your thigh. The final invitation rips at the crease, having an embroidered coat of arms. Inside margin, tiny numbers swim between standard whereases, and heretofores. Dowry math. Grain inventory. A doodled horse with too many legs. The servant dumps her basket out the window. Gold shreds sprinkle the moat. 2 ducks investigate, quacking critiques. You lean too far, your sleeve soaks in invitation soup. Violet ink bleeds upward, reverse tides revealing margarita. South Tower. 14th hour. The servant slams the casement, ducks scatter. Her apron bulges with scavenged foil. Fresco repair. She lies smirking. You wring out your sleeve, ink stains resemble Margaret of Austria's death portrait. Both tragic, both bad at waterproofing. Floorboards creak overhead, the jingle of a bureaucrat's coin purse. The servant flees, her foil trail a coward's comet. You press the sodden letter against the wall. Water transfers the margarita onto peeling plaster. Graffiti upgrade. Dawn slinks through arrow slits. It's always dawn somewhere. The remaining invitations curl into fist-shaped husks. You dissect a wax seal with your thumbnail. Someone mixed powdered ruby into the resin. Extravagant. Fragile, staining everything it touches. Footprints in foil lead to a kicked-over inkwell. Violet puddle, still sticky. You dip a quill's broken shaft, write apologies on the window. The letters streak, judging you. A door slams. The servant's laughter floats up from the courtyard. Rain returns, smearing your window art into Rorschach soup. You lick a salt crust, it stings. That drunken stable hand from Section 9 stumbles past, trailing hay and probable STDs. The margarita on the wall now resembles a sickly squid. Progress. Your boots squish toward the exit. Each step imitates wet parchment. One golden foil scrap clings to your heel, a punctuation mark. You kick it into the moat. Let the ducks be someone else's problem. Margarita's smeared name drips, a final tear down plaster cheeks. The door clicks shut behind you, muffling the duck's complaints. A new chamber embraces you, rancid sweetness clawing at your throat. Violet stains fingerprint the walls, a salon turned crime scene. 3 glass inkwells cluster on an escritoire, their liquid murky as a gambler's conscience. Your sleeve drips onto marble, each droplet echoes. The nearest inkwell sweats condensation. Or is that poison leaching through? 16th century physicians prescribed unicorn powder for toxins, mostly ground narwhal tusk. You'd trust a raccoon's advice sooner. The glass bites your palm, its chill lingering too long. Fingers stiffen, joints protesting like rusty hinges. A smear of violet clings to your lifeline. You wipe it on a drape, the fabric hisses. When in doubt, blame the decor. Crumbling wax dots the desk, fox red and reeking of cloves. Between them, a folded paper tremors in the draft. The physician's scrawl resembles drunken spider legs. Patient 6 awoke screaming, then silence. The date matches Margarita's smudged summon. Coincidences are for peasants. Your thumbnail traces the broken seal, wax dust tastes like burnt sugar. Bile rises. Historians still argue whether King Ferdinand's arrhythmia was natural, or a slow drip special. The note slips from your grip, fluttering toward the hearth. Embers kiss its edges, words curl into black confetti. Heat pricks your face. Behind you, glass grates against wood. The inkwells have shifted. One tilts syrupy liquid glugging into its neighbor. Did the desk lurch, or did you? 3 deep breaths, armoire, candle, mutton fat tallow stench. Steady. A codex lies open, margin notes swim beside astrology charts. Venus in retrograde, avoid phlebotomy. Helpful. Between Mars and Jupiter, a sketch of crossed daggers. Quirky tidbit court physicians, often doubled as spy recruiters. Makes house calls awkward. Your reflection warps in the poisoned ink, eyes stretched into owl-like pools. Blink, blink. Normalcy's overrated. Footsteps slap hallways, too light for guards. You pocket a wax lump cold as a cardinal's heart. The remaining inkwells shiver their dance, reflecting in a gilded mirror. One cracks, hairline fractures, spreading like lies. Violet oozes onto leather-bound Seneca. Misfortune tests friends, the rest melts. Goes great with the Dacre. Dawn's first rays strike the mess, poison gleaming like couture mascara. You exit backward the way you came, not retreating, strategically advancing toward the vomit bucket. A bugle sounds too early for military pomp. The physician's note winks its last in the grate. Ash clings to your palm like a failed confession. Your heel grinds the largest glass shard, safety through pettiness. The drape you stained sags, its embroidered unicorn now martyred by poison. Irony's a dish best served by someone else's maidservant. Cool air slaps your cheeks, alive with duck debates and faraway screams. Back to the moat, back to the rain. The ink in your sleeve has shifted, forming new constellations. You name one regret, the other Tuesday. Rain hammers the shutters, each droplet smearing your ink-stained cuffs. The library's western wall glimmers, dampness buckling leather spines. Your elbow jostles a treatise on falconry. Something clatters to the floor. A folio splays open, its pages clinging like lovers' hands. Between vellum sheets, a pressed carnation crumbles at your touch. 17th century nobility used flowers as organic bookmarks, rosemary for remembrance, marigolds for despair. This one's stem snaps, dust motes swirl like phantom bees. Historians still argue whether floral codes reflected genuine sentiment or just aristocratic boredom. A fleck of crimson clings to the page, too bright for age. Rouge, blood. The rain answers with another torrential shrug. Marginalia crawls along the edges, quill strokes jagged with haste. Midsummer's Eve changed everything. Betrayal wears lily-white gloves. Your thumb smudges lily-white into oblivion. Poetic. The next page crackles, its center hollowed out. Nestled inside, a lock of silver hair wrapped in muslin. Courtiers' smuggled hair locks as political collateral, a revolver with better curls. Wind howls through a cracked pane, the folio slams shut. You brace it with a nearby astrolabe, its brass tarnished by salt air. Quirky tidbit, ship captains often gifted navigational tools to landlocked nobles. Status over function. The hair sample flutters, catching on your ring. 23 strands. An unlucky number post-inquisition. Your pulse thrums, syncopated with the storm. Beneath the muslin numbers scrawled in vermilion. 7, 42, 15 dates, coordinates, payments. The candle gutters wax pooling around a suspiciously modern paperclip. Anachronisms are such party crashers. Another gust, the carnation disintegrates into sepia snow. You taste floral musk and dread. They pair like poor wine and bad decisions. 3 quick knocks echo, wood vibrating under your palm. Not the door, the book itself. Warped pages contracting a dying breath trapped since the wars of Spanish succession. You exhale too loud. The astrolabe slips, puncturing a treatise on ceremonial duels. Symbolic, water pools around your boots, the storm seeping past defenses. Time to relocate. The folio clings to your hands, a final leaf detaches. Another note, feminine script this time. He knows. Burn this. Remember the sundial, too late by centuries. Your laugh chokes, a donkey's rasp. The fireplace yawns empty and cold. Of course. Rain-damp hair sticks to your neck. Sepia petals cling too. You shake like a wet hound, history's dandruff sprinkling the rug. Behind the folio, a miniature portrait winks from the shadows. The subject's eyes match the silver hair sample. Younger, happier. Stab wounds hidden under tasteful lace. Artistry. A key clatters from the folio's spine, green with age, fit for a diary or dungeon. Your boots squelch toward the exit, each step a tide retreating. The lock of hair slips from your grip, snagged by a draft. It dances, a specter waltzing with dust. You let it go. Some ghosts refuse burial. Thunder rattles the roof beams, a sound like cracking teeth. Damp parchment adheres to your palm, translucent as a cardinal's conscience. Peeling it off, you find 10 pinpricks forming Taurus, astrology as shopping list. Quill pricks. The storm smothers your sigh. Dawn leaks through ruined shutters, asthmatic and gray. You exit sideways, prizing the key over dignity. The folio heaves a final breath, spine splintering on the tiles. Behind you, petals swirl into a vortex, like they're rejoining some ancient bouquet. Optimistic fools. Your sleeve leaves a crimson streak on the doorframe. Rouge or rust doesn't matter. The key bites your palm, its teeth sharp with secrets. Somewhere, a sundial gathers moss. Somewhere, a duke's bones grumble in their gilded cage. Your boots squelch toward the stables, each step heavier than the last. Rain thins to mist, the kind poets call melancholy in lace. You call it mold booster. The key warms, or maybe your hands just numb. 10 paces south, a maid drops a tray with a medieval clatter. Silver hair blurs in your periphery. Coincidence? The hour says maybe. Thorns snag your cloak, a rosebush gone feral. You snap one off, its stem weeps sappy blood. Petals whisper as they fall dry as the carnation's ghost. Time to move. Time to forget. The key agrees, digging its teeth deeper. Loyal little Judas. Iron clangs split the air, each bell strike, vibrating your back teeth. Aragonese tower bells weighed up to 12 tons, enough to make your fillings regret everything. You press against the stable wall, the key's jagged teeth biting fresh crescents into your palm. Dawn's first blush stains the eastern horizon pink as a diplomat's lies. That silver-haired maid watches from the hayloft, her eyes reflecting lantern light like twin full moons. Catalan anarchic revolution documents hid in bell towers during the 17th century. Though this key fits no lock you recognize, your boot crunches something, a shattered clay pipe stem coated in beeswax. Quirky tidbit, stable hands used wax plugs to silence snoring. Teamwork makes the dream work. Assuming anyone slept, the bells reach a crescendo, drowning your muttered oath about genial relatives. You pivot, clutching the key like a miser's last coin. Stone grit embeds in your palm. Historians still argue whether those dawn bell patterns encoded revolt plans or just drunken bell ringers. A shutter bangs above, the maid's vanished. Coincidence tastes metallic today. Leather reins brush your arm, still warm from some midnight rider's grip. You freeze as hoofbeats echo through the archway. Not horses, mules. 14 of them, their clattering shoes sparking against cobblestones. Perfect for smuggling ink through mountain passes or hiding contraband, saints' bones. The lead mule snorts, snot landing on your left boot. Poetry. Wind snakes through your collar, carrying the scribe's citrus cologne from 3 sections back. Nostalgia's a fickle brat. The key warms against your skin, its teeth aligning with a stall's rusted keyhole. Click, the door creaks open, revealing saddlebags fat with rolled parchment. Pay dirt, maybe, but that's a tomorrow problem. Shadows shift, a silhouette blocks the fading moonlight. You recognize the profile, the silver-haired maid's now holding a whetstone. Her blade gleams dully. Bells mask your gulp. Mules shuffle, creating cover. You slip between them, their musky heat erasing your scent. Thank God for poorly groomed livestock. A scroll tumbles from an overstuffed saddlebag. Court documents from Ferdinand II's reign watermarked with the royal Aragonese bull. Mainstream historical snack. He used parchment taxes to fund his Italian wars. This one's margin features doodles of decapitated hawks. Therapeutic. The maid's knife scrapes rhythmically, each stroke echoing the bell's decay. Midnight blue wax seals melt under your thumbnail. Regret follows. Oathkeeper shouldn't dabble, but curiosity's a terminal condition. The parchment crackles, revealing betrothal terms between Naples and a cheese merchant's daughter. Political marriages, the original clickbait. You re-roll it, too late. Beeswax drips onto your wrist. The pipe smoker's ghost must be cackling. Hoofbeats return louder. Closer. You duck beneath a feed trough, hay poking your neck like accusatory fingers. 4 riders dismount, spurs jangling with bureaucratic menace. Their leader's cloak bears the Inquisition's tarnished clasp. The key digs into your thigh, an eager informant. The maid's whetstone pauses. One rider fingers his sword hilt, engraved with St. George's less impressive cousin. Bells falter. The sudden silence rings louder than any clang. Your breath hitches. A donkey chooses this moment to sneeze. Comedy's alive and unwell. Feet shuffle near the trough. Vermilion boot cuffs court messengers. Their heels crush the fallen scroll. Irrelevant, grunts the lead rider. His companion kicks the parchment into manure. Histories where you dump your trash, apparently. The maid hums a lullaby about drowned sailors. Bells resume, this time in the triple strike pattern used for royal funerals. Your jaw clenches. 3 days ago, that melody accompanied a poet's disappearance. Coincidences are for horoscopes and bad alibis. Dawn proper arrives harsh and sulphurous. The riders remount spitting orders about searching the granary. You count to 33, the age when Joan of Arc became barbecue. Risky, the maid's silhouette retreats, blending with chimney smoke. Your legs scream from crouching. Middle age, nature's callback to childhood hide-and-seek injuries. The key mocks you, its edges pulsing with potential. That stall door yawns, an invitation to trouble. You pocket a fallen horseshoe. Fortune favors the prepared sucker. Outside, the bells hit their final note, a wobbly B-flat that dies in midair. Leather scrapes stone as you emerge. The courtyard lies abandoned, save for a snapped quill and fresh blood droplets. Someone's bad day. Your stolen scroll peeks from the manure, smeared but legible. Burn it. Ignore it. The choice licks your neck like a nervous cat's tongue. Wind shifts, carrying a familiar citrus and incense blend. The scribe's nearby, watching, always watching. You tuck the scroll into your boot, itchy rebellion blooming beneath the arch. History's a gossip. It hates loose ends. 3 quick stomps echo the maid's signal or a horse's tantrum. Either way, your cue. You drift toward the postern gate, key now colder than a cardinal's compassion. That half-finished oath lingers on your tongue, each syllable barbed and inevitable. Dawn disagrees. Secrets spoil faster than milk. The gate creaks, its hinges stuffed with frayed velvet. Someone's idea of stealth. You slip through, the key finally relaxing in your grip. Behind you, the stable cats commence yowling. Critics everywhere. The gate's velvet-lined hinges leave crimson threads on your sleeve, Aragonese royalty's idea of subtlety. Your boot squelches into mud cold as a tax collector's handshake. Moth wings flutter past, pale as the maps, awaiting upstairs. Dawn's prying light slants through a cellar grate, illuminating cobweb-shrouded cabinets. You climb each step, groaning like a jilted lover. Inside sprawls an archive fit for paranoid kings, shelves sagging under brittle geographies. Silk threads stitch shifting borders across yellowed vellum, Valencia's coastline, now 5 fingers west of reality. Mainstream fact: medieval mapmakers updated territories using merchant gossip. Accuracy died where profit began. A child's crude drawing peaks beneath Corsica, stick-figure dragons eating Florence. Your nail catches on a moth hole, the ripped edges still sharp. Some cartographer's nightmare. Hungry insects revising history. 16th century restorers used beetle-wing paste for green ink. The museum heist possibilities write themselves. 3 maps slump together, their edges fused by decades of damp. You peel them like onion layers. The bottom sheet crackles, revealing fresh ink beneath faux ancient stains. Clever. Recent enough to smell of juniper berries and panic. Silk threads here glow bluish Byzantine smuggling routes or someone's knitting project. Historians still argue whether Mappamundi doodles represented heresy or bored novices. Your laugh sticks in your throat. A shadow coughs near the door. Breeze riffles pages, exposing Sardinia circled in tarnished gilt. 16 mule routes converge there, each marked with tiny horseshoe stamps. That Neapolitan betrothal contract from section 19 groans in your memory. Dowries paid in Sicilian sulfur. The child's dragon doodle flutters free, its parchment backing newer. You hold it to the light. Hidden text glows, a merchant's code demanding 14 barrels before the moon salts the wheat. Poetry or receipt fraud. Floorboards creak rhythmic as a snooping guard's heartbeat. You slide the dragon doodle into your sleeve. It crackles, a dried ladybug carcass dissolving to dust. Lunchtime, your elbow bumps a shelf. A dozen rolled maps topple like drunk nobles. One unfurls, the Nile Delta, rendered in questionable puke green. Beetle-wing ink, quirky and slightly nauseating. A spider scuttles across Alexandria, 8-legged conqueror. Blotting sand cascades from a ripped seam, hourglass vengeance. Sneeze incoming. You stifle it, nose burning, as voices rise downstairs. Catalan consonants snap like kindling. That silver-haired maid's lullaby coils up through floor cracks. Drowned sailors, indeed. Moonlight through a high window reveals your exit, a service hatch behind Genoa. You leap, map edges slicing your palm. Blood blooms across the Balearics. Tourism's gotten aggressive. The hatch resists, sealed with something sticky. Honey, candle wax. Compromise always smells cloying. A kick sends you sprawling into a hay cart, its occupant, 3 indignant hens. Their clucks echo the scribe's disapproval. Dawn proper now, the map's dragon doodle warm against your wrist. Somewhere, a child draws truth safer than ink. Silk threads fray, borders dissolve, gnawed by moths and time. Hay pokes your neck like teeth. You miss your bed. Wind carries citrus and gunpowder. The scribe's been busy. A distant bell tolls once. Warning. Welcome. Your stolen knowledge itches worse than lice. That's the rub secrets scratch until you bleed them. The hay cart jolts forward, driverless horses fleeing sunrise. Hens protest as you clutch the splintered rails. Dragons in your sleeve, blood on the maps, all in a morning's work. The hay cart's stale straw reeks of poor life choices yours and the Duke's. A torn ledger page clings to your ankle, red numbers screaming debt like a jilted mistress. Main Street fact: red ink meant dire obligations in Aragonese bookkeeping. Luxury crimson cost 6 Lennox tomes per ounce. Rusted axle screams protest as you skid past olive groves, fruit ripe as the Duke's lies. His sprawling estate looms ahead, shutters snapped shut. 3 maids dump cherry pits into a trough, their giggles cut short by your cart's rattle. The ledger flaps open, your thumb lands on a butcher's bill, smothered in crimson stains. Pork purchases outweigh poetry, manuscripts, 12-1, priorities laid bare. Bet the hams tasted better than his ballads. You vault over the cart's edge, below lies yesterday's wine puddle. Fancy stomping grapes with your face. Hard pass. A ripped valise spills silver coins, minted with the king's smirking profile. Someone's been skimming. Squinting reveals tiny notches carved into each coin's edge, merchant code or board minter's doodle. Who knew financial crimes could be so artsy? The Duke's manicured gardens mock your mud-caked boots. A side door creaks. Stench of burnt rosemary floods the alley. 2 footmen haul a casket-sized chest, straps straining. Historians still argue whether crimson stains on ledgers meant wine or bloodstains scrubbed too late. Your elbow jabs a loose brick. The wall panel swings inward. Jackpot. The study reeks of desperation and Turkish figs. Parchments avalanche from the desk, numbers zigzagging like drunk spiders. That familiar scrawl, the Duke's hand shaking through each digit. 734 ode to the candlemaker. 85 doubloons to a certain brothel. 85 overachiever. Beneath lies a much-thumbed page, the butcher's name circled thrice. Unpaid, crude wolf drawing in the margin, teeth sinking into a coin pouch. Subtle. Footsteps thunder upstairs, 7 distinct creaks. Time's up. You shove 3 damning sheets down your shirt, paper cuts be damned. A loose floorboard yields a silk pouch, fat, with stolen gilt seals. Quirky fact: forgers used sulfur-tinged ink to mimic archival yellowing. This Duke just spilled wine. The earlobe-shaped stain on his desk says amateur hour. Back through the secret passage, spiderwebs cling like creditors. A dropped quill crunches under heel, might as well sign your confession now. Shadows shift, 2 torches bob toward the stables. Your knees hit cold dirt as the ledger pages rustle, each debt a landmine. That unpaid butcher's bill peeks out, final line smeared beyond reading. Key evidence or marinara sauce. Dawn bleeds through the orchard, peaches blush like embezzlers caught mid-theft. You vault the wall, a torn ledger page flutters into the fish pond. Carps nibble at the numbers. Fair, even they know paper debts dissolve underwater. 3 streets away, Stolen seals dig into your ribs. The wind carries curses from the estate. Someone found the ransacked study. Your neck prickles, half expecting crossbow bolts. Market crowds swallow you, bakers shout prices, blacksmiths clang lies. A familiar face lingers by the spice stall, silver-haired maid from Section 17. Her basket overflows with cinnamon sticks and gild wax. Coincidence? In Aragon. Pull the other one, it's got bells on. You slip into an alley. The butcher's shop sign creaks overhead. No customers, just the reek of hung meat and poor decisions. Inside, sausages dangle like forgotten promises. Floorboards glisten, recently scrubbed. The Duke's unpaid bill crumples in your fist. Clever man, hiding liabilities where pigs meet profit. A meat hook sways, chain dripping rust or blood. Your boot heels stick to the tiles. Some stains outlive their makers. The shop's back room whispers secrets, stacked crates, labeled salt pork. One cracks open glint of silver, coins upon coins, all notched like those in the Duke's valise. The butcher's side hustle shines brighter than his knives. Shouts erupt next door, clatter of armor. Out the window now. Your exit strategy. 3 wobbly barrels and a prayer. The drop jars your spine. Fate hates freelancers. Muddy alley rats scatter as you sprint. Stolen pages crinkle like laughter. That familiar itch burns your palm again. Secrets scratch indeed. Sunrise glares off the guild hall's brass doors. Final stop. Your clenched fist hesitates. Those seals could buy land or a coffin. The Duke's debts weigh less than a feather here. Justice bends like wet parchment. 3 breaths, 2 choices, 1 knock. The door swings open, silhouette of a man holding a quill and a butcher's cleaver. Your voice cracks, words barter faster than a Marrakesh merchant. 17 guild seals for safe passage north. A meaty hand extends, palm scarred by blade and graft. Deal struck. No receipt. The chapel's chill nips your ears, incense clings like guilt. A lone nun kneels, psalter pages rustle under trembling fingers. Latin hymns rise, then falter at Psalm 51. Clever. That passage's repentance themes hide darker requests. You crouch behind a confessional, splinters snag your sleeve. Her rosary beads click-clack in triple time. Morse code before Morse. Historians still argue whether 12th century convents housed more spies than saints. Tonight's odds favor the spies. Moonlight glints off her book's metal corners, engraved with doves and tiny lockpicks. The Kells school taught illuminated manuscripts, not this. Mainstream fact, psalters often doubled as dowry inventories. This one's scribbled margins scream escape plan. She coughs, a wet rattle. The psalter snaps shut. 2 drops of something viscous fall, thick as regret. Lemon juice for invisible ink, or communion wine gone foul. Your nose wrinkles its citrus. Amateurs. Real agents used ox gall and alum. Footsteps echo in the cloister, 7 pairs. Her head jerks up, wimple askew. That flattened binding isn't devotion. You've seen smuggled keys before, just not between psalms and proverbs. She tugs a thread, the spine splits. Brass glints, a locker key from Zaragoza's docks. Scratch marks suggest multiple owners. Rosary beads skitter across flagstones. One rolls your way, crushed under your boot. Oops. Voices rise, Castilian accents sharp as sacristy knives. She shoves the psalter into a pew's hollow, strategic rot. The key presses into your palm, still warm. Quirky tidbit, nuns baked messages into communion wafers during the Reconquista. This feels less tasty. Per virtutem rosare, her whisper cuts off. A shadow looms, black robes smelling of sweat and sacramental wine. You pocket the key. Time to test those moth-eaten priest-hole rumors. Dust plumes as the wall panel grinds shut. Your new home smells of dead mice and desperation. Through a crack, the interrogator's boot stamps the dropped rosary. Beads explode. 17 maple seeds bounce away. 15th century, eco-friendly crafts. Adorable until weaponized. The nun's eyes meet yours through the slit wide as monstrances. She mouths vespers and jerks her chin upward. Ah, the key fits the Beltor's shackle. Convenient. Also suicidal. Your neck cricks, counting 200 heartbeats. Silence. The panel creaks open, empty nave. Blood rushes back to your toes. Pins and needles duel with urgency. That key burns hotter now. Who locks salvation in a belfry? Stone stairs spiral into gloom. Each step a public execution risk. The bell rope sways, tied in sailor's knots. Someone's been moonlighting. The key slides home. A click echoes like Judgment Day. Inside the lockbox, parchment scraps and a seal ring. The papal kind. Well, there's the retirement fund, also a death warrant if caught. Bells toll 3, your skull vibrates. Downstairs, shouts. The nun's wimple floats past a window, discarded. Her cropped hair gleams in torchlight as she mounts a gelding. Smart girl. You grab the ring engraved with St. Peter and a tiny hourglass. Even Vatican artisans had deadlines. Dawn pinks the horizon as you skid into the crypts. Caskets line the walls, convenient hiding spots, if not for occupants. The ring's rubies catch light worth 7 vineyards, or 1 discreet ship to Naples. Muffled Latin drifts through a vent, funeral rites for the disrupted rosary. Your escape routes blocked by a marble angel, its smirk mirrors yours. The key's jagged edge saws through a stained glass fragment. Blue shards rain down, depicting Saint Michael losing an argument with a demon. Poetic, you wriggle through, freedom smells of rotting pumpkins. The docks beckon. Somewhere behind you, a gelding's hooves clatter toward the hills. The ring sits heavy in your purse, right beside the Duke's Guild seals. 2 paths, 2 futures. Salt wind slaps your face. That nun's probably 3 towns over by now, smart and unscrupulous. Sisterhood goals. A fisherman eyes your muddy hem, grins gap-toothed. Passage north. His price. The papal ring. Your counteroffer. 2 guild seals and a salter page. His spit hits the boards. Done. As the boat pitches, you unfold the smuggled key's final secret. Faint letters emerge, lemon juice's parting gift. One word, repent. Too late for that. The Tiberia's sails snap full. Somewhere, a Beltor door swings open, and a gelding gallops into legend. Salt crusts your lips as the Tiberias heaves. Its deck reeks of herring and poor decisions. That papal ring still digs into your ribs. Sorry, St. Peter. The captain's voice cuts through fog. Barcelona by nightfall. Sure, if the harbor guards aren't tallying stolen relics over breakfast. You duck beneath flapping sails. A screech pierces the mist. Not seabirds. Too shrill, too pissed off. Perched on the mast, a hooded falcon strains against jesses. Its feathers match the Duke's ledgers, the bloodstained ones from last year's audit. Coincidence? Unlikely. Falconry kept nobles funded trained birds, fetched more than peasant marriages. Mainstream fact, medieval mercenaries traded gerfalcons instead of gold sometimes. Today's rate, 1 warhorse per preened tail feather. The bird lunges, silver bells on its ankles chiming doom. Your boot squelches in something fish guts. No, too red, too fresh. Blood pools around a discarded gauntlet, fingers still inside. Kinky, lost, seniorita. A crewman blocks the companionway, dagger gleaming like a bad idea. His accent screams Valencian oranges and back alley shivs. You nod toward the falcon, just admiring the poultry. His snort says you'll be next in the bait bucket. 3 breaths, you duck his swing. The falcon goes apeshit, talons raking his scalp. Nice birdie. Overboard he goes, splash blending with harbor sounds. The captain's too busy yelling at rigging to notice. Rule 1 of smuggling: never trust a guy who talks to ropes. Barcelona's wharves loom, lanterns blinking like judgmental fireflies. You leap onto a fish cart, mackerel confetti everywhere. The falcon follows, because why not? Together you skid past customs, guards too busy confiscating a holy sardine. Stone alleys reek of urine and ambition. That bird's still behind you, little Jacobin with wings. It screeches again, echoed by a man's shout uphill. The same timbre, S-A-M, E Chinese letter. Falcon and noble screaming in unison, creepy party trick. You sidle into a courtyard, linen flaps on a balcony. A ledger lies open, pages fluttering. Bloody fingerprints bloom between columns of debt. Feathers nestle in the gore, same as the birds, above a shattered window. Inside, a chaise long upended, and a body. Dead guy's doublet sports the city crest, accountant by trade, corpse by hobby. His quills jammed through an eye socket, diplomatic immunity won't fix that. The falcon perches on his foot, method acting. Candles gutter as you riffle the ledger, half expenses, half blackmail notes. Turns out Barcelona's treasurer financed revolutions between buying apricots. A gauntlet-clad hand grasps your shoulder, warm and meaty. Found my bird, I see. The noble's breath reeks of cinnamon and corpse rot. His right glove's missing. Hello, courtyard cadaver. The falcon dive bombs his wig, distractions sorted. You need him where counts. Historians still argue whether Catalonian nobles wore codpieces after 1412. Tonight's answer: a decisive yes. He crumples, velvet doublet, absorbing cobblestone kisses. You pocket the ledger, its pages crinkle with dried something. Quirky tidbit: falconers used snail slime to heal bird talons. This guy's face could use a mollusk spa. Torchlight bobs closer guards. The falcon snatches the gauntlet, winging it over rooftops. Smart. You follow gutters, shred your skirt. Cheaper than a Barcelona tailor. The bird lands on a merchant's cart, quack medicinal oils. You trade the ledger for a horse. Its owner asks no questions. Good man. The falcon glares from a rafter as you gallop north, unofficial mascot. City walls shrink behind you. Somewhere, a noble wails over his missing glove and dignity. Dawn stains the hills burnt umber. Your new steed's less graceful than the gelding, but equally fond of apples. The ledger's secrets itch in your sleeve. That falcon circles overhead, feathers catching light like stolen jewels. You smirk. Nothing bonds souls faster than mutual blackmail or surviving a Catalan's bad temper. The road forks west toward France, east to the sea. Your coins say keep riding. The bird screeches a demand or warning. Either way, the next town's famous for its dovecotes and discreet forgers. Priorities. Hoofbeats echo behind you, faster than merchants ride. The falcon rockets downward, claws extended. You spur the horse into a thicket, crashing through thorns. A crossbow bolt whispers past, reunited with the noble's grudge. The bird pecks your ear, drawing blood. Rude. It veers left toward a cliff path. Suicide, but the ledger's last page mentioned a smuggler's cave ripe for coincidences. You dismount, boots slipping on scree. The falcon swoops into a crevice, its bell jingling. Inside, crates stamped with the Aragonese crown. Oops, stealing royal contraband beats dying. Probably. Gauntlet guys shout bounces off canyon walls, closer now. You pry open a crate, silver ingots, and velvet bags of saffron. Dinner's funded. The falcon eyes you, judging life choices. Footsteps crunch outside. Time to test a theory. You lob a saffron bag into sunlight. The bird dive bombs it. Distraction achieved. Nobles hate wasting spices more than dignity. You slip out the back exit, cave moss squishing underfoot. The ledger's weight feels lighter now. Or maybe that's blood loss from the thorns. Either way, the papal ring's twin glints ahead, wedged in a shepherd's hut door. Tempting. The falcon's cry fades behind you, its job done. You pocket the new ring. 5 more, and you could start a Vatican-themed tavern. Horse hooves approach, different rhythm. Mercenaries. Tax collectors. Same difference. You melt into the pines, breath held. The ledger's pages whisper secrets against your chest. While far west, a certain nun's gelding outpaces the sunrise. Saffron's musk clings to your fingers, burnt honey and regret. The ledger's torn edge flutters like a captive finch. Mercenary agreements spill from your satchel, each parchment branded with golden smears. Barcelona's spice markets leak into everything, even betrayal. You crouch behind a spice cart, cumin and cinnamon stinging your eyes. Two men argue over a contract, their boots crunching dried chili pods. Half now, growls the taller one his paunch, straining against a tunic dyed woad blue. Mainstream fact: saffron cost more than gold per ounce in 15th century Aragon. This deal's drenched in it, every clause glistening with stolen luxury. A droplet splatters the taller man's sleeve, yellow as cowardice. He doesn't notice, neither does his partner, a mercenary captain, missing 3 fingertips. You recognize those stubby hands. The butcher of Calais still takes gigs. His dagger taps the payment sum, 500 silver maravedis, the inks smudged beneath the number. Or is that a tear? The cart owner sidles closer, her breath reeking of garlic and gossip. They've met thrice this week, she whispers. Always during lamb stew hour, poor skillet gets neglected. You nod, squinting at the mercenary's boot. Saffron streaks the heel, same shade as the contract stains. Quirky tidbit: Catalan cooks used saffron to dye napkins for plague masks. Fashion meets famine. The butcher slams his fist. Apricots tremble in their baskets. Double the advance, or we'll see who Valencia's mayor favors. His wad of contracts fans out, a dozen golden smudges blooming like toxic flowers. The paunchy man pales, hand drifting to his coin purse. You edge backward, rope burns stinging your palm. Too slow. A chili pod cracks under your heel, sneaky little traitor. 6 eyes snap toward your hiding spot. The butcher grins, gap-toothed and ghastly. Rat, he lunges, dagger slicing air where your neck just was. You duck, somersaulting over a sack of peppercorns. They burst, spicy shrapnel pelting his face. Chaos blesses the unprepared. The spice merchant wails, throwing cloves like improvised salvation. You snatch the contracts mid-tumble, parchment crinkling. Golden smears flake onto your wrist. Historians still argue whether nobles used saffron to watermark forgeries. This reeks of royal desperation and poor kitchen hygiene. A cleaver embeds itself in a watermelon beside you, refreshing, if lethal. The butcher's roar shakes olives from their brine. You vault onto a stall canopy, fabric sagging underfoot. The contracts crumple against your ribs. Below, the paunchy man chokes on airborne paprika. You leap, crashing onto a hay cart. The horse startles, galloping into an alley. Saffron-smeared faces shrink behind you. The butcher gives chase, stumpy fingers grasping your ankle. You kick, connecting with something squishy. His howl scatters pigeons from a dovecote. The cart careens past a bakery, sweet bread, momentarily masking the spice stench. Contracts slip from your grip, one snagging on a baker's peel. It flutters into the oven, golden stains igniting. Flavored arson. Dismounting hurts, knees screaming as you skid into a tannery. Hide vats bubble, reeking of desperation. and poor life choices. The remaining contracts stick to your damp palms. Payment sums blur, 97 Maravdes, 412, all stained yellow. There, the butcher's voice echoes off dripping walls. You cram the parchments into an empty dye barrel. Saffron meets indigo in a psychedelic swirl. His shadow looms, crossbow creaking. A tannery worker hurls a sheep's bladder at his head, community service. You bolt, bursting into sunlight. The baker waves a charred contract remnant, lousy kindling. You toss him a stolen Maravdi. Try rosemary next time. The butcher emerges, saffron, and indigo streaking his tunic like a deranged peacock. He levels the crossbow, your spine tingles. A barrel crashes from a balcony. Olive oil slicks the street. He falls, swearing in 3 languages. You vanish into the cathedral's shadow, gargoyles judging your life choices. The contracts are gone, but the stink of saffron lingers. That tear on the payment sum, still unanswered. Doves coo overhead as you blend into pilgrim's robes. Somewhere, a spice merchant laughs over extra coin. Elsewhere, a paunchy man sobs into his depleted purse. Your hands itch, yellow stains refusing to fade. Sunset gilds Barcelona's rooftops. A beggar offers bread his palm marked with saffron. You decline, wise after the cleaver incident. The butcher's curses echo faintly, a lullaby for the morally flexible. You lean against a well, half expecting poisoned water. Instead, a floating saffron thread spins in the bucket. You sigh. Nothing's ever truly gone in this city, just repackaged with better lies. A child tugs your sleeve, holding a crumpled scrap. Senora, you drop this. The parchment fragment shows a mercenary's seal, partially melted by oven flames. You tousle their hair, keep it. Makes decent confetti. Lamplighters ignite the streets, each flame a tiny arrest warrant. Your stomach growls. Saffron isn't edible after city grime. You drift toward the fish market, ambition temporarily outweighed by hunger. The butcher's crossbow lies abandoned near the docks, oysters clinging to its stock. You pocket a bolt, souvenir or future problem. Waves lick barnacled stones, washing away golden flakes. Midnight finds you scrubbing hands in seawater. Saffron resists, staining your cuticles like cowardice. Contracts burn best, but you've already lost the matches. Somewhere, a nun's gelding canters toward a new chapter. Somewhere, saffron blooms in the dark, clinging to every unspoken deal. You smirk. Barcelona never cleans its hands, just finds dirtier gloves. A lantern sways on a distant ship. You walk toward it, heel grinding a golden smudge into the cobbles. The ledger's secrets still hum quieter now, but persistent. Tomorrow's problem. Tonight, the harbor breeze almost tastes clean. Almost. Salt crusts your lips, the harbor's farewell gift. A 3-masted carrack creaks in port, its sailors' shanty muffled by fog. But beneath the melody, something off. The chorus drags, a lullaby stretched thin over syllabic cracks. You follow the sound up a slippery wharf, past drunk merchants singing wrong notes. The real music leaks from a half-open warehouse, shutters sagging like defeated shoulders. Inside, crates labeled dried figs stacked to the rafters. Mainstream fact: Aragonese merchants smuggled arms in fruit barrels during the Granada campaigns. These figs reek of desperation and forged steel. A woman's voice hums above the creaking hulls. Sleep, little badger, night is nigh. Each word lingers, two long consonants cracking like code. Your boot nudges a rat. It scurries into shadows, straight through a gap in the floorboards. Kneeling, you pry up a warped plank. Candlelight flickers below a cellar packed with parchment. A nursemaid rocks a cradle, her ballad slowing as she scribbles. Branches whisper what owls know. The rhyme's cadence matches troop movements in the Navarro-Valencia feud. Coincidence? Your cramping legs say no. The cradle's occupant giggles, tiny fists batting the air. A wax seal drips onto its blanket, misshapen blobs obscuring words. You squint. Beneath the lilt's sugary coding dates and coordinates. October 12th, cavalry routes. King Ferdinand's personal guard rotations. Quirky tidbit: Spanish intelligence once hid battle plans in a song about fig pudding. Ask a pastry chef, they'll deny everything. The nursemaid pauses, quill hovering. Moonlight catches her face, a faded scar bisecting one eyebrow. Maria of Toledo, the same court tutor accused of poisoning that Milanese envoy. Her hum resumes. The lullaby's bridge now spells mercenary pay rates per hectare. Subtle. A floorboard groans, your knees betrayal. Maria freezes, candle guttering. The cradle sways, its canopy embroidered with recursive owls. You hold breath, counting heartbeats. She resumes humming, but the next verse skips 2 beats. A cipher shift. Clever girl. Dawn seeps through cracks, turning fig barrels into monolithic shadows. Maria departs, locking the cellar with an iron key. The cradle remains its occupant, chewing a parchment corner. You drop through the hole, ankles protesting, and kneel beside the child. Drool softens the document. Tiny teeth marks denting the word invasion. The wax seal's remnant clings to your thumbnail, scented with lavender and lies. Historians still argue whether Ferdinand's annexation of Naples began as a nursery rhyme. This evidence suggests someone's toddler messed up the timestamp. The baby coos, offering a shredded scrap. 7 syllables left intact. Vian mercenaries approach Barcel, you pocket it, patting their downy head. Next time, aim for the verbs. Footsteps echo above crunching fig seeds. A man's voice booms double the sugar shipments. The Duke wants them cloying. Boots descend the cellar stairs. You dive behind a flour sack. Captain Moral, Ferdinand's mustachioed logistics headache, pauses by the cradle. He sneezes fig pollen's vengeance and inspects the gnawed documents. Teething already, he tucks a fresh page under the mattress. The replacement lullaby begins. Hush, little vizier. Don't say a word, peeking. You spot troop numbers between the rhymes. 400 light cavalry, disguised as pilgrims. 24 siege engines listed as church donation carts. Clever until a toddler belches powdered sugar all over your reconnaissance. Moral departs humming off-key. The infant resumes demolishing state secrets. You salvage a half-chewed stanza, its margins doodled with war horses wearing nuns' veils. Bureaucracy meets absurdity. Escaping through a coal chute, you emerge behind a fishmonger's stall. Mackerel eyes judge your charcoal-smudged face. The nursery rhyme loops in your skull, a relentless earworm with artillery undertones. Across the plaza, Maria buys quinces from a vendor. Their conversation's rhythm mirrors the coded lullabies meter. 12 ripe ones, she says, stressing 12 like a countdown. The vendor snaps his fingers twice, a drummer marking time. Your nape prickles. Night falls, gas lamps casting nursery rhyme shadows. You linger near the docks, copying cipher patterns onto a shrimp net. 3 drunk sailors harmonize nearby Sleep Little Badger, morphing into a tavern remix. Their version includes accordions and a disturbingly accurate description of Sardinian fortifications. The carrack departs at midnight, its sails swallowing stars. A sailor tosses fig pulp overboard, sticky constellations in the water. Somewhere, a toddler learns to hum in triple time. Somewhere, a general wonders why his scouts keep singing during briefings. You crumple the decoded notes, tossing them into a brazier. Smoke curls into the tune's melody, a lullaby for pyromaniacs. The flames miss a fragment, charred edges framing one phrase. Invasion eclipses the swallow's return. Gulls cry overhead, nature's untrained chorus. Your boots carry the rhythm home, each step a conflicted drumbeat. Dawn finds you scrubbing coal dust and humming. The harbor bells chime 7. A fishwife curses her toddler, reciting a poem about troop formations. You toss a maravdi into her basket, buy him a rattle. Your rented room stinks of burnt parchment and poor decisions. The crib's ghost hums in your ear, an infinite loop of martial lullabies. You drink cheap wine, it tastes like fig jam and espionage. Moonrise. Maria's silhouette passes your window, headed toward the docks. Her basket overflows with sugar cubes and what might be cipher wheels. You let her go. Let Ferdinand have his sing-song war. The mattress crackles, stuffed with half-remembered verses. As sleep drags you under, the rhyme mutates. Hush, little traitor, time is nigh. Your fingers twitch, reaching for a pen that isn't there. Dawn's first light reveals charcoal scribbles on your wall, stick-figure owls carrying lances. You groan. Barcelona never lets you quit. It just changes the lyrics. A knock startles the pigeons outside. Senor, your laundry. The laundress sings her price list, every number a perfect fourth apart. You tip extra, silencing her musical accounting. The caravel becomes a speck on the horizon. Somewhere a nursemaid hums. Somewhere a king's fate rests on a baby's gums. Your inkwell waits patient as a suspended cord. Silk whispers against your palm, the ambassador's unfinished cloak, draped across the oak table. Gold thread glints in the seamstress's lantern light, each stitch a little too deliberate. Your fingernail catches on the hem, something stiff beneath the brocade. The tailor's assistant freezes, her shears hovering above crimson velvet. That's fashion from Milan. She lies, sweat beading above her lip. You pluck a loose thread, 12 silver coins cascade onto the flagstones. The clatter echoes like a dropped cutlery set. Ambassador de Vega's taste in embellishments explains his sudden fondness for floor-length robes. Mainstream fact: Castilian diplomats routinely smuggled bribes in clothing during the Treaty of Alcasova's talks. These stitches smell of Lisbon palms getting greased. The assistant lunges for a button box, crushing a patch of emerald trim. Accidents happen, she mutters, spilling a thimble. It rolls under the table, trailing twine. You follow, knees protesting, and find a ledger wedged between floorboards. 300 ducats paid for extra lining, twice the fabric cost. Quirky tidbit: Spanish tailors used codfish bladders as hidden pockets during border checks. The gallbladder residue alone would deter inspectors. Upstairs, laughter seeps through the ceiling. De Vega hosts a wine tasting, his voice booming about thread count and diplomatic immunity. A servant descends, tray laden with almond pastries. You hide the ledger behind a bolt of damask, its edge snagging your sleeve. Midnight oil smokes in the workshop lamps. The assistant mends a doublet, her needle stabbing fabric like a put-upon assassin. You hover near the cloak, easing a fingernail under the collar's reinforcement. 3 more coins drop, stamped with the Portuguese royal crest. Oops. Someone's skimming from both delegations. The assistant's shears snap shut, an exclamation point. Senor shouldn't touch what isn't his. A thump upstairs, drunk nobility toppling a chair. The distraction lets you pocket a coin, its edges sharp as fresh treason. Historians still argue whether Ferdinand knew about de Vega's haberdashery habits. The moths in this workshop seem opinionated. Dawn light stains the linen samples pink. The assistant dozes, head resting on a pincushion. You unfold the ledger's last page, numbers swimming in candle smoke, weekly payments to a certain M. shipwright, and an order for lead-weighted ceremonial sashes. Footsteps shake sawdust from the ceiling. De Vega bellows for his cloak. A diplomatic ride awaits. The assistant startles awake, stabbing her thumb. You press the coin into her bleeding palm for the silence fund. She hesitates, then sews it into the hem's new lining. Teamwork. The ambassador's laughter rattles the door latch. You slip into a bolt of black velvet, fabric swallowing you whole. De Vega snatches his garment, complaining about amateur stitching. The cloak swings past your nose, reeking of saffron and poor decisions. His carriage departs, wheels crunching hidden coins into the cobblestones. The assistant glares at your velvet cocoon. Out, you emerge, sprinkling gold thread like conflicted confetti. Her scissors snip the air, a warning. You exit into the spice market's chaos, cumin masking the ledger's ink-stained stench. A merchant offers Moroccan leather belts with unusually thick buckles. Tempting. But your pockets already jingle with evidence. The workshop's ledger burns in a brazier's 2 streets over ashes, spelling temporary amnesia. Heat warps the final entry's numbers. Was that a 7 or a 1? Too late now. Evening finds you at the docks, watching De Vega's ship hoist anchor. His cloak billows like a guilty sail. 20 silver coins glint between seams, screaming their origins to anyone with half a lens. A cabin boy scrubs the deck and pauses to adjust his doublet's sagging hem. You toss a pebble at his back. He jumps, clutching his collar. Guilty threads. The moon rises, double-checking your own cuffs for accidental stowaways. A tavern ditty drifts through the port. A drunk crooning about seamstresses and silver. You hum along, the melody clinging like loose threads. Sleep comes fitfully, dreams of ambassadorial cloaks devouring coin mints. Dawn's first light reveals a silver disc under your pillow, embossed with a phoenix, the assistant's revenge or invitation. The tailor shop sits abandoned when you return, a single gold thread snagged on the lintel. Inside, floorboards pried up, ledgers gone. Only a pincushion remains, impaled with a note. Find better hobbies. You pocket the needle, its eye still threaded with crimson silk. The harbor breeze carries a familiar laugh. De Vega's ship, now a speck near the horizon. 3 days later, a Galician fisherman wrings out his net and curses. Silver coins tangle with sardines, Portuguese crests glinting beneath scales. The ambassador's hem allowance finally runs dry. Your own cloak feels heavier these nights. Every rustle sounds like betrayal. You slice the lining open just in case. Empty. For now. The stench hits first violet ink and rotting chamomile. A physician's journal lies splayed on the exam table, spine cracked like old ribs. Your sleeve catches a mercury vial. It rolls, clinking against bloodletting knives. Candlelight dances over the final entry's jagged script. Tuesday, patient 6 regained consciousness, screaming the spiders. The spiders administered poppy tincture. Pulse rapid as ink blots the rest. Mainstream fact: medieval doctors diagnosed hysteria for everything from fevers to failed crops. Their cure: usually more leeches. A dried rose petal crumbles between pages, pressed where the handwriting frays. Quirky tidbit: Renaissance medics believed humming backward could reset disturbed humors. You attempt a daft warble. The shutters rattle. Coincidence or criticism? The quill lies snapped, its nib embedded in the desk. Someone fled mid-sentence. Floorboards creak. No, that's your own boots sticking to something tacky. Don't inspect it. Footprints lead to a cabinet, its shelves packed with jars. One holds floating eyes. Goat, human. Labels peeled off from shame. Another's stuffed with, is that a mummified weasel? Historians still argue whether medicinal mummies were pure placebo or just scammy grave robbing. The weasel's expression suggests the latter. A cough sounds through the wall too wet to ignore. You freeze. The journal's torn page sticks to your damp palm. 7 seconds pass. No threat, just the building's chronic bronchitis. The last legible word, spiders, itches in your skull. You thumb through earlier entries. Patient 3 complained of dancing shadows. Prescribed lunar baths. Patient 5 sweat smells of burnt almonds. Recommended weasel poultice. Science. Dawn seeps through fly-specked windows. Your shadow stretches across a wall chart, organs mislabeled in drunken Latin. The spleen's marked melancholy reservoir. Accurate. Tools clink as you riffle drawers. Rusty scalpels. A handbook titled Lunar Phases and Optimal Amputation Hours. Bronze tweezers fused to something crusty. Nope. Beneath a packet of medieval Xanax, valerian root and lies. A child's doodle flutters, stick figures holding hands, near a coffin labeled Papa. Heartbreaking provenance for scrap paper. A floorboard shifts underfoot, hidden compartment. Inside, a lead vial and crumbled wax seal. You uncork it. Violet residue matches the journal's ink. This morning's bad decisions. Tempting. The door slams downstairs. You stash the vial, its weight ominous in your sleeve. Through the keyhole, a maid mops the hall, whistling off-key. Wait, that's the plague sanitation tune. Heavy mood. Back to the journal. The final entry's spillage resembles a Rorschach blot. Squint, could that be a spider shape? Or just a nervous scribble? The answer's filed under eternal mystery. A church bell tolls, its vibrations upsetting the mercury vial again. You steady it, leaving fingerprints in dust. This room hasn't seen patience since someone realized 4 humors was bullshit. 3 mice skitter behind the desk, 1 dragging a bandage ribbon. Their nest probably contains more medical wisdom than the library downstairs. Your boot heel grinds on something, shattered lens from a physician's monocle. Hope he wasn't mid-surgery when that happened. Patients 5 and 6 send their regards. Dusk stains the ink, blots burgundy. Time to go, the maids replacing hall candles. You pocket the journal, feels heavier than pages should. That vial burns a hole through your sleeve, metaphorically. For now. The exit creaks, iron hinges screaming like patient 6. 4 blocks later, you spot an actual spiderweb glistening in a bakery window. Coincidence taunts you. Rain begins, washing violet ink streaks from your palm. The journal's spine cracks louder with each step. That spilled final word, maybe it's better left unsmeared. Sleep refuses you. The lead vial glows faintly. No, just moonlight through flawed glass. You chuck it into the hearth. It hisses, releasing smoke shaped like nope. Not doing this. At dawn, a street urchin offers to buy that fancy book. His payment, a dead frog and 2 wilted violets. You counter with a lesson on germ theory. He flees. The physician's house stands boarded up by noon yellow caution tape, flapping in Spanish. Too late, someone already looted the weasel. You burn the journal in a public brazier, ink sizzling foul. A passing monk scowls at the smell, then sneezes 7 times straight. Humor's rebalancing. 3 nights later, the villa's new owner complains of crawling sensations. His doctor prescribes pigeon egg enemas. Progress. The vial resurfaces in your dreams, always rolling under claw-footed furniture. You wake grasping at shadows, fingers brushing a dormant spider. Symbolisms, a ham. Market gossip whispers of a Florentine noble driven mad by invisible spiders. His doctor, a man with violet-stained cuffs, recommends bee stings. The cure rate, to die for. Your boots still track faint chamomile crumbs. They'll shake loose eventually, joining history's other half-swept truths. The journal's ashes, already choking some gullible scholar's fireplace. Patient 6's scream lives rent-free in your earlobe. Let historians debate what poison or psychosis caused it. You've got lint spiders to evict from your cloak. The moon carves shadows across the basilica's cheekbones, your breath fogging marble lips as you kneel. This isn't prayer unless desperation counts. Aragon's nobility once commissioned sculptures as stone confessors during political unrest, safer than speaking to flesh and blood clergy. The proof, your palm presses against icy saint's feet, still warm from someone else's secrets. You whisper treason to Saint Barbara's ear, her chiseled curls hiding a hairline crack. Historians still argue whether these cracks formed naturally or from centuries of overheated gossip. The saint's eyeballs reflect candlelight glass orbs scavenged from a smuggler's caravan. Quirky tidbit traders claimed Venetian glass could trap whispers like amber preserves flies. Testing theory feels unwise. Dried wax clings to the statue's pedestal. Someone else lit vigil candles here. 3 stubs, 2 tallow, 1 beeswax. Wealthy penitent. Crouching lower, you spot a scrap of vellum wedged beneath her toe. Cursive loops beg tell Philip the shipment sails Tuesday. Unsigned. Unoriginal. Unfortunate, Philip's been dead 73 years. Wind sneaks through stained glass. A blue-robed saint flutters moonlight across your neck. Off-key chanting drifts from the cloisters. Friars practicing Gregorian karaoke. Your knee protests the cold floor. The real pain. Admitting how your last scheme dissolved faster than sugar in confession wine. A spider descends Saint Barbara's nostril, nature's eavesdropper. You flick it away. Cobwebs glisten between her fingers, the pious version of jazz hands. Footsteps shuffle behind a pillar, pause. Your dagger hilt digs into your ribs, comforting as a lover's elbow. Silence resumes. You resume murmuring, this time about tax ledgers hidden in a ducal privy. The saint's expression stays bland as porridge. No absolution here, just pigeon droppings fossilizing her shoulders. A distant hinge squeals, wind or someone opening the relic cabinet. Your palm traces her robe's chipped folds. Mainstream fact, medieval sculptors modeled saintly drapery on real nobles' wardrobes. This one's sleeves mirror Queen Petronilla's coronation gown, if Petronilla dressed during an earthquake. The sculptor's signature hides in her armpit, vulgar but effective against plagiarism. A scuffling erupts above. You freeze, bat wings slice the candle's glow. The belfry's colony paying respects. Bat guano streaks the saint's head, a crumbling tiara. Your confession shifts to borrowed silverware technically stolen. But the Duchess never used those fish forks. Saint Barb remains unmoved. Dew seeps through your hose. Dawns a blush on the horizon, 14 minutes till the sexton arrives. You stand knees popping like ill-tuned lutes. The vellum scrap goes into your sleeve. Philip's ghost can bill you later. One last secret slips out. You regret selling the cardinal's favorite mule. The statue's palm feels warmer. Coincidence? Definitely. Wooden sandals clack on flagstones. You melt into a side chapel nose to nose with a fresco of hell. Appropriate. The sexton's broom rasps across nave stones. He mutters about nighttime loiterers, tactfully ignoring the wine stain on St. Bartholomew's toe. Your exit hinges on a rusted side door, third confessional on the left. 3 tugs, it groans open. Outside, a nun clips herbs in the physic garden. Her gaze pierces your shadow. You freeze. She tosses a sprig of rue at your feet. Message received. By sunrise, you're squinting at the basilica from a tavern window. The saint's outline softens in morning light, secrets baked into her limestone pores. 2 merchants argue over fried dough, their voices drowning St. Barbara's final marble whisper. Your tankard leaves a ring on the table watermark of the mildly damned. The vellum scrap surfaces in your pocket, now smudged with grease. Philip's shipping schedule remains illegible. Fate's comment on punctuality. Rain trickles through the tavern's leaky roof, threatening your inkwell. You scribble a decoy letter about turnip harvests, boring enough to deter interception. The real message hides in the wax seal, pressed with a counterfeit ring. 3 street cleaners pass, their song rhyming heretic with derelict. Not subtle. You pocket the letter. Your cloak swings wide, revealing a smear of St. Barbara's pigeon guano. Fashionable. The basilica bells toll 9, each strike vibrating your back teeth. A child points at your stained hem. His mother mutters about drunkards. Fair. By noon, you're bribing a courier with ginger candies. The decoy letter departs for Valencia, destined to line a diplomat's birdcage. Your boots track garden mud across the courier's floor, vengeance for the Rue incident. Dusk finds you at the docks, salt crusting your eyelashes. A ship named St. Barbara loads silks, and 3 unmarked crates. The captain's ring matches your counterfeit. You cough. A sailor drops a ledger. Full circle. The moon rises again as you count crates. 37, 38, 39, 40. Shipment complete. St. Barbara's face flickers in a lantern, judging you through firelight. You salute her with a stolen orange. Dawn scrubs the docks raw with sunlight. Your footsteps fade, lost in laborers' shouts. Only the saint's cracked ear remembers your voice, and 50 other midnight murmurs. Historians will call this commerce. You call it Tuesday. The orange peel floats in the harbor, sodden confession, dissolving in brine. Some truths fare better in salt water. You hum that Gregorian chant badly and disappear into the crowd. Damp linen sticks to your palms as you sweep ashes from the nursery hearth. 12 years too late, your broom handle knocks loose a floorboard again. The third time this week. Beneath lies a moth-chewed blanket, its embroidered crest half devoured by silverfish. You hum while working, an old lullaby the cook swore warded off milk curdling. The melody tangles with the estate's ledgers you scrubbed yesterday. Odd. Duke Alfonso's tax records pulsed in the same rhythm, quarter notes matching harvest quotas. A draft licks your ankles. It carries parchment dust. Under the blanket waits a vellum scrap, brittle as dead skin. Your hum falters. The handwriting mirrors the Duke's last will, same jagged T's, but these words sway like a drunkard, or lyrics. Sunlight bleeds through warped glass, 93 leaded panes, warping the infant suns. The nursery's murals peel, angels with moldy wings. Your index finger traces the vellum's edge. Mainstream fact. Medieval wills were sometimes sung to melodies for memorization. This one's stanzas mention cedar cradles and midnight feedings. 3 notes rise in your throat, the lullaby's chorus. The vellum's ink ripples, not your eyes playing tricks. Faded letters rearrange under the tune, legal jargon becoming verses. To the air of fractured stones shifts, to rock the babe, whose blood alone. A spider dangles from your cap, refugee from the broom's assault. You blow it away. Your thumb finds a smudge, the heir's name blurred to sepia mist. Dew. Leak from the whiskey still upstairs. Historians still argue whether these songwills were mnemonic devices or vessels for banned bloodline claims. Footsteps creak the hall. You slide the vellum into your sleeve. Its edge scratches like a kitten's plea. The housekeeper enters, sniffing for laziness. She eyes the half-swept ashes. Found rats again. Mice, madam. Humming frightens them. Humming attracts worse. Her keys jingle exit. Alone again, you exhale 8 bars of the tune. The nursery's shadows stretch, elongating like courtiers bowing. That cedar cradle rumor holds weight. 3 carpenters vanished after building it. Quirky tidbit. Some claim the wood came from Noah's Ark's second cousin. Dinner bell clangs. You hide the vellum under your cap, crunch of 100-year-old secret against your scalp. Stew boils in the kitchens, smell of turnips and desperation. The scullery maid winks. She's pocketed Saffron again. Midnight finds you squinting by the privy's lone candle. The vellum's 3rd stanza mentions a lynx-eyed nurse. Old Consuela's ghost still haunts the east wing, muttering about colic. Your lullaby whispers now, a barred owl screeches. The candle dies. Darkness hugs your throat. Fumbling to relight it, your tinderbox snaps. Footsteps approach, wet leather slapping stone. You press against clammy bricks. The night watch trudges past, drunk on sacramental wine. Your exhale ripples the vellum. Moonlight returns, the air's name now a charcoal smudge. You copy the melody's notes onto your palm, ink from crushed mulberries. Dawn's first blush stains the horizon. Somewhere, an infant wails in the tenant huts. Your lullaby sticks to the roof of your mouth, bitter as unripe almonds. The housekeeper's keys jingle. By noon, you're scranging parsley in the kitchen garden, humming the tune to drown the steward's yells. A stable boy pauses. Know that one from the south, cradle song. Sounds like a gambling debt chant. He spits. You pocket a wilted sprig, parsley for truth, they say. The vellum burns against your thigh, forgotten air burning brighter. Historians will scribble footnotes, but your humming scrapes at a tomb no mason built. The well rope blisters your palms, 3 buckets drawn for the cook's rage. Water reflects your face, and a shadow too tall for your cap. You spin, splashing your hem. Just the one-eyed tabby stalking sparrows. You drip across the courtyard, human ink blot. The melody loops in your skull, morphing with each step. Triplets for the usurper, a fermata for the heir. Sundown brings a letter, quill pricks dotting the seal. The Duke's cousin writes again, demanding inventory lists. Your fingernail cracks the wax. Ink blurs as you hum, the numbers align with the lullaby's bridge. 42 jars of quince paste, 39 lambs, 17 possible heirs. Laughter erupts in the buttery, the steward telling his peasant, who swallowed a treaty joke. You trace the vellum's torn edge. Mainstream fact, 14th century, will sometimes left titles to pets if heirs proved unworthy. That mastiff portrait in the gallery stares too judgy for coincidence. Moonrise, you're picking oakum in the gatehouse, tar stinging your hangnails. The lullaby leaks through your nostrils, a reluctant whistle. The gate creaks visitor. Wind. Always wind. The vellum peeks from your apron, its final stanza, a riddle, swaddled in twice stolen blue, matches the chapel's relic. A virgin's robe stolen from Marseille, then Burgos. Your thumbnail digs into pine resin. Quirky tidbit, relic thieves, often left rhyming apologies. The watch's lantern bobs closer. You stuff the vellum into the oakum sack. Morning's dew soaks your knees, weeding the herb spiral. The vellum's ink ran overnight. Air's name now a greenish tide pool. You hum the melody backwards, just in case. 3 crows argue over a dead foal. The estate's lawyer gallops past, cloak flapping like a debt collector's ledger. Your lullaby sticks in your teeth, sweet and rotting. By twilight, you've hidden the vellum inside a hymn book. Psalms taste better with intrigue. The chapel's chill hugs your ribs. Somewhere above, a child laughs or a ghost clears its throat. Your candle gutters. Shadows dance across the choir screen, swaying to your hum. The lullaby's crescendo lifts, then crumbles like a biscuit in weak tea. Footsteps echo on the rude screen stairs, heavy booted board. You douse the flame. Darkness swallows the hymn book, the vellum, the air's unresolved chord. Daily rhythms resume scrubbing, hauling, pretending. The melody now lives behind your molars, a tongue canker of history. One midnight, you'll thread it through the tavern's keyhole. Let drunkards reshape it into a drinking song. Let the air's name dissolve into body verses. Let history blur as it prefers. For now, you hum while polishing the Duke's empty cradle. Ash swirls around your ankles, each flake a burnt afterthought of someone's desperate penmanship. The Salon's last candle drowns in its own wax, a miniature Vesuvius snuffing out Pompeii red drips. Your boot heel grinds a half-charred love letter into the tiles. Turin's winter balls were never this ashy. Mainstream fact: 16th century diplomats used candle soot to write when ink froze. These flakes seem too bitter for mere correspondence. A draft snakes through the cracked window. It carries the tang of distant forges, or maybe the kitchen boy burning failed tarts again. The shadows of quills dance on the walls, phantom scribes, rewriting history's rough draft. You scoop ash into a velvet pouch, quirky tidbit. Some alchemists swore powdered love letters cured gout. The cook's limping this week, but you pocket the grime anyway. Doors groan on rusty hinges behind you know, just the wind's dry cough. Moonlight licks a half-melted seal under the sideboard. Silver thread winks from the debris, Aragonese silk, worth a peasant's yearly bread. Historians still argue whether nobles deliberately left clues or just sucked at tidying. Your pinky hooks the thread. It hums, same pitch as the dowager's missing bell. Ash migrates north, your sleeves now striped like a badger's pelt. That'll confuse the laundress. Between floorboards glint shards of a shattered inkwell. The violet glaze matches the physician's poison vials. You kneel. Knees pop like parchment being crumpled. A wet sniffle above makes you freeze, probably just the house cat mourning dead mice. The largest shard reflects your eye, iris swimming with half-remembered ciphers. Turn it sideways. The cracks form a crooked M. Maria. Miguel, maimed. The band Sultan trade deal rumors resurface. Your nail flicks the glass. It pings like a child's money jar. Somewhere upstairs, a clock chokes on the hour. Wind pirouettes through the room. Your ash pouch billows like a ghostly lung. Coughing, you stumble into a tapestry. Woven crusaders leer down, their woolen swords prodding your shoulder blades. 2 bolts of faded green taffeta slump in the corner. Base of a sewing rebellion, or just poor storage. The air smells of lavender and impending departure. A scrap of vellum sticks to your damp palm. Last week's laundry list, or this week's death threat. The letters blur as you rotate it. 7 yards of black crepe becomes beware the 8th mile marker. The steward's handwriting always did lean treasonous after breakfast. Footsteps shuffle beyond the doors, real ones this time. Keys jingle the universal song of disapproving housekeepers. You toss the vellum into the dying hearth. It curls like a sinner's last gasp. Flame licks the word eighth, always the problematic number. Mainstream fact: Aragon's tax rolls skipped 8 for 7 years after the plague. No one likes tempting fate. The housekeeper's silhouette looms, a paper cutout of judgment. Still here, admiring the masonry, she snorts. Masonry's in the east wing. Her lantern probes the ash drifts. Viscount's ball starts at midnight. You're posted at the privy to catch drunk counts. Keys retreat. The final ember winks out. Alone again, you crush cooled ash between thumb and forefinger. Gritty. Good. Quirky tidbit. Spy masters used ash paste to temporarily mute squeaky door hinges. That north corridor could use some. Moonlight fades as clouds conspire. Your last candle stub rolls under a divan typical. Blind fingers trace the wall toward the exit. Stone wears soft under centuries of fleeing palms. 3 grooves mark the spot where the mad Duchess clawed for escape, or so the stable boys claim. The doors creak as you push, a chorus of unoiled complaints. Night air slaps your face. Somewhere beyond the garden walls, lute strings giggle musicians, pre-gaming the Viscount's ball. You brush ash from your bodice. A speck lands on your tongue, burnt honey and despair. Locking up feels heavier tonight. Iron key fights its home. The seal of Aragon mocks you from the keyhole, its vertical stripes now just scratches in cheap metal. Historians still argue whether the last true heir died crying in a wet nurse's arms or laughing in a smuggler's cart. Distant thunder groans. First fat raindrops hit the courtyard, each one erasing a fleck of ash from your shoes. You hum that damn lullaby, softer now. Let the rain harmonize. Let the Viscount's champagne drown it. Let the Salon's ghosts keep time with their cobweb metronomes. The west gate light flickers, drunken nobleman or ambitious rat. You take the servant's path. Rain soaks through your cowl. Somewhere behind, a shutter bangs, or maybe applause. Either way, the Salon's done with you. For tonight, your pallet in the attic creaks its usual complaint. Mouse droppings pepper the pillow. Ah, home. As sleep drags under your eyelids, the day's last image floats, that ash-coated scrap in the hearth. Had the flames consumed eighth entirely, or left the H like a warning stealth ash drifts downward now, softer, each fleck dissolving in the candle's final sigh. Your breaths sink with the guttering flame in-out until darkness swallows the room whole. Rain taps the roof, 1,000 ghostly fingertips tracing rhythms from forgotten ballads. You lean into the wall, its stones hum with centuries of hushed confessions. Thread, the velvet pouch's drawstring tight, its gritty weight anchors you to this moment. Shadows no longer dance, they rest. Even the wind's howl mellows to a lullaby. Slide the key into your sleeve, cold metal warms against your pulse. Thunder murmurs beyond the hills, not a threat, just a distant echo. Your footsteps whisper across damp tiles, each print erased by the rain's quiet forgiveness. The garden gate groans open, a familiar lament. Let mist cling to your lashes. Let it blur the ash-stained path. Somewhere a nightingale trills 3 notes, clear as cathedral glass. Then silence. Up the servants' stairway each creak a known companion. Your cot waits, straw mattress sighing, as you sink into its embrace. Rain etherealizes the rooftops, slate tiles glimmering like fish scales in moonlight. Press the ash pouch beneath your pillow, gritty dreams may yet prove kind. Eyebirds stumble, heavy with the night's secrets. That last fleck of vellum, did it crumble or linger? Let it go, let the hearth's memory cradle it. Your fingers uncurl, palm upward, empty. Sleep arrives not as a wave, but as silt settling in still water. Drift, drift, until even the rain becomes someone else's story. The salon's whispers melt into your hair, into the attic's dust, into nothing. Breathe. Rest. Dawn will ask no questions.